gather the boys around the radio, park the truck and turn it up. It's time for the show. JB and JC and Mad Dog Mully, it's a power three for these amigos. A lunchtime meet and treat, a power trio. With guests and fans that really rock, it's time to talk 3 hours about those damn Gamecocks. So grab a sandwich, soup, or beer, and let's go. It's time for the show. Oh no, it's time for TG, the Gamecock Show.
And gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, presented by Resto Pros of the Midlands, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Touchdown Carolina! Touchdown Ace Sanders! Pressure! And he just dives in!
Here's J.C. Sherbert, Phil Wollinax, and Jamie Bradford.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and presented by our friends at Resto Pros. They are there when you need them. Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros Midlands, SC.com. The Barndo Co. is building dream homes across the Carolinas, and you can head to the barndoco.com to find out about their awards and their plans and all the things that they do. New offices are opening often, and so many folks have been ecstatic with what the Barndominium Company has been able to do for them. We are too, and we love them. They're Gamecock owned and they are Gamecock operated, and they were as happy as the rest of you were on Saturday to see your Gamecocks get a 34-30 victory over Missouri Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium, ending a 5-game losing streak to the Tigers from that other Columbia and keeping the Mayor's Cup right here in the Palmetto State. It was a lightning bolt of a fourth quarter, and South Carolina survives and advances 7-3 now, 5-3 in the league. They'll finish there. Missouri is 7-3 and 3-3 in conference play. The Wofford Terriers are up next. Mike, JC, JB, and Mad Dog until 2 o'clock today. Pat DiMarco along at noon. We'll get into the film room with him and talk some ball. John Whittle will be here at 11:20 to talk football and basketball. He was up in Bloomington this weekend. Carolina falls to Indiana there. So we'll get to that. And we've got bowl stuff. We got CFP stuff. We'll talk about the rest of the SEC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's looking likely that both South Carolina and Clemson will be playing for a lot here in just a couple of weekends. And we can't wait. Glad to have all of you. And good morning, boys. Good to see JC and Phil this weekend and spend some brotherly time together, too. That was fun.
No doubt. Always.
We came rolling back to the crib at like 2:30 this morning. I'm never until I-40 opens, and we don't know when it's going to open again. I'm never doing that. I'm flying. I'm not doing it.
There's no amount of money that can keep you from
doing that again. I listened to the GPS that said it's quicker to go through West Virginia. You guys ever drove through West Virginia?
It's not much there.
It's beautiful. I bet it's beautiful on a fall Sunday when the sun's shining, but when it's pouring down rain at 1 o'clock in the morning,
not so.
And there's trucks passing you on these mountain roads that I've never been down, and I'm half blind at night anyway. Rushing by you at 80, and it is like literally the whole state, or the whole part I went through is like that stretch between Asheville and Knoxville on I-40, where you're just in and out. I mean, there's the state capital of Charleston. I don't know if when they established it during the Civil War, they thought they were going to get attacked or what, but it's more fortified than Tehran. I mean, it's surrounded by them. I mean, it's like they intentionally like, let's put a town here.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to be able to get to it. Oh, wow. And so we drove through the night because I was so mad after the rain. I didn't expect the rain and going through that state. We hit Virginia, and we were close to 77 anyway, going down through North Carolina. So we rolled in at 8:30 in the morning on Friday. And then yesterday we went kind of a weird way through Atlanta and up through Nashville, and that just takes a long time. We were actually pretty lucky. No Atlanta traffic, no Nashville traffic. So it just takes, once you hit Indiana, you think you're almost there, and guess what? You're not. But anyway, I'm not going to gripe about that because it was a tremendous trip. I'm so thankful that we went. Thankful for, of course, hanging out with all you guys, but what a win. You know, sometimes good teams have to win games like this.
That's right.
When things aren't going your way. Missouri, I think we all know they have good football players on that team. The Carolina's coaching staff talked about it all week. And just like I said last week, talking to my guy out there, the thing with their offense this year, and Brady Cook being out, you know, I mentioned this a while back when he went to the hospital and then came back and beat Auburn. Got hurt, went to the hospital, came back, suited back up, beat Auburn. At home. That guy's just a gutty player, and it resonates through the whole team. You know, they could have folded at halftime because they got down big again on the road, but they didn't. And then the other thing I was told during the week is they didn't say they weren't good at it. They just said, well, we hadn't been able to establish the outside zone, and boy, they did Saturday against the Gamecocks. And that opens things up downfield. Luther Burden, obviously, Mike knows this. Y'all know this. He's a great player. Clutch touchdown. And it's just like, instead of saying, and this is everybody in the stadium, the players, the coaches, the fans, instead of what normally has happened in the past around here we go again. Can't beat these guys. It's over. Carolina just drove down the field and won the game. And they did it. If you know, and I have this in my Big Spur game thoughts, and to those that are subscribers, I haven't gotten done with it because I slept in today because I probably would have fallen asleep during the show, and I didn't want to do that. So I wrote this as like, if you'd have told me before the game Noel's going to go for $150, Carolina's not going to be able to establish the run, I would have said, well, Missouri's going to win the sixth. They just got them. But no, LaNorris Sellers throws for 353 yards and 5 touchdowns. Throwing.
Yeah.
This receiving core, you know, and like we were talking to Perry a couple weeks ago, and I agreed with him that, you know, we hadn't seen a guy that could make somebody miss and take it to the house. And I mentioned Jared Brown. I also mentioned Delvon Campbell, but as the weeks kind of went on, I thought, well, I was just being stupid because I saw one play against Akron and I overreacted. No, that guy can actually catch the ball and run. He's actually pretty fast for a guy his size. The Nevada transfer, 2 huge catches. The second one, LaNorris Sellers found him and pinned. I mean, dude, throwing back across the middle like that's hard. Stuck it in the breadbasket. How about Nick Harbor? The fade. I don't think we've seen a fade all year. I mean, it looked like the fun and gun. It looked like Spurrier was, well, shoot, let's just throw the fade to Nicky, you know? And he had a really nice game. You know, Rocket Sanders, things aren't going his way at all. But in the end, look what he did. You know, that's not a I'm going to the NFL play. That's a I want to win play. at the end, what he did, just knifing through those guys. And then the defense did that, held them at the end with the interception and sack. Just to, and I was telling a friend of mine after the game, games like this happen to even great teams. I mean, I don't know why I remembered this, because it wasn't a similar game flow wise at all. Y'all remember Tennessee, Lane Kiffin's one team goes to Alabama in 2009, that great Alabama team that won the national championship, the first one under Saban, and they needed a 340-pound D tackle to block a field goal to escape 7-6 Tennessee. I don't know why I thought about that game, because the situations aren't even similar. But sometimes in this sport, especially this year, and especially with college football and the offenses and its offensive oriented, you're going to have a game where you're going to have to do something you don't normally do to win the game. And that's what South Carolina did. Shane Beamer now, first coach in program history to beat 3 AP ranked teams in consecutive weeks. This never happened around here. He is 27-21, which is 1 game off through 48 games of Steve Spurrier's record here. South Carolina is 5-3 in the SEC. They wrap it up. First time since 17. They've had a winning SEC record. And his 15-17 SEC record is not much to write home about, but it's the same record Spurrier had, the same record Will Muschamp had after that many games.
Well, and you're missing something too.
I probably am.
The tweet on Saturday night from Brad Crawford, since the start of the 2022 season, Shane Beamer has 6 wins over top 25 teams at Carolina. That's more than Ryan Day, Lane Kiffin, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, James Franklin, and Mike Norvell. So
wow. I didn't have time, obviously, to do that research because I do most of the driving. Obviously, I did let the 16-year-old
when that research was put out, you were having a bourbon with me at Michael's condo. You weren't driving, but I hear you.
No, I was, yeah. Guy, by the way, for those that have high school age kids that can drive, it's very beneficial.
Yeah,
at times when you take them places. So yeah, they got us. So, and I'm glad we didn't even sit in any traffic going in or going out either. It was a perfect weekend except for the drive down and back, but it was great. But yeah. So so that's impressive, man. Big wins mean a lot when you're trying to establish a program, you're trying to establish relevance, and that was a big one. These guys, I don't know what it is. Eli Drinkwitz finds a way to scheme up Carolina. Well,
he had a great game plan, and he always does. Mike, I discovered about halfway even in the first half, and obviously more so the second half than anything, is when Missouri was doing what they were doing on offense. But when they took the ball, I was a little surprised. Wasn't surprised after I saw the game plan. They were very confident that they could move it against Carolina, and they did to a degree, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah. Good morning, gentlemen. They did better than I thought they would.
Yeah, me too.
I will say this, and I'm not surprised Cook played. This was the week of the ultimate cat and mouse. People that I trust were telling me Cook is going to play for Missouri, Nico was going to play for Tennessee, and Lagway was going to play for Florida. Those are the words I was getting as early or late, however you want to look at it, as Thursday morning, and all 3 of them played. And all 3 of them, a lot of people were saying had no chance of playing, and that affects a lot of things, including the Vegas odds, by the way. But look, I started last week off saying the bill was due on Mizzou. The bill finally came due on Mizzou. This Carolina team was due to win a game like this against Missouri. And kudos to Missouri. They, like you said, say what you want about Eli. Eli can design an offense, can call some plays, and gets the maximum out of his personnel, which is all you can ask out of a coach. Get the maximum out of the players that you have. And I don't say that to imply they don't have talent. They do, but I don't think it's been one of the most talented teams in the league during their stretch here. They benefited this year from one of the more easier conference schedules. And quite frankly, the fact that they fought back the way they did was impressive. But this was the game. A couple things come to mind. Number one, This is the first time you couldn't just lean on the defense this year. Missouri was up to the task, and they did a lot of things to neutralize what Carolina does so well in their pass rush and everything else. So you couldn't just look up at the scoreboard and say the defense is going to keep the opponent under 20, and that takes a little pressure off, and we don't have to play from behind. No, that wasn't the case. The offense, you don't win this game without a great offensive performance. And for me, this will forever be known as this was LaNorris's moment. When we talk about the Heisman Trophy, which is going to be a very difficult vote this year, in my opinion, as someone who has a ballot, there's not a quarterback that stands out this year. Certainly not one from the SEC that's going to be in the lead for that. But you talk about who's got the Heisman moment when it's close. That 3rd and 10 where LaNorris is clearly going to be sacked and then rolls out and then rolling out left, throws downfield. And, I mean, if you don't make that play, I'm not sure what the story is today. It might not be a Carolina victory, that's for sure, because now you're looking at a 4th and 10, and Missouri's offense had been able to move the ball down the field. So that's his quote-unquote Heisman moment. And then when Missouri comes back and you take the air out of the building and then you respond again with another great drive, it was with those type of moments. We've seen it here and there, but in that situation, you don't win that game without your quarterback making huge plays down the stretch. So that is where you really. And we keep talking about it. I mean, he's still only a freshman. Like, there's going to be a lot of room to grow. You look at the quarterbacks in this league, every one of them, from 3-year starters to seniors to everyone has had games and moments where they've really struggled this year. This has not been a banner year where somebody's just lit it up. But he's clearly only going to get better. And I thought, again, those moments belong to him. I thought the play calling was really good. I mean, if you go back, who's the guy, JC, on Big Spur that breaks down? Is it Briner?
Yeah, Ben Briner.
Ben.
Yeah.
He was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to say I don't know Ben at all, but I thought he did a really good job with. I was just going through that this morning.
Yeah.
And
good job, Ben.
Yeah. Is he? I'm assuming he's somewhere in South Carolina.
He's kind of like one of these just film junkie guys.
Yeah.
He used to, when he worked for the state newspaper, and they kind of got out of the full-time journalism gig, and lives in Charlotte, used to live in Columbia. He's from, Ben, I apologize. I know you're from up north somewhere. We've talked about it, but I'm getting old, but no, he's kind of seasonal for us. He does, but that's what he does. People love to read his breakdowns, and
I think it's great.
And again, he takes the time to do it. He's not just blah blah blah. He breaks it all down. He knows the concepts. I thought Dowell had probably his best game calling plays, to be honest, and he's just a passing game guy, and the designs. We saw stuff we hadn't seen before with like I was telling somebody the other day, they hadn't thrown a fade almost all year, and here we go.
Fade.
Here's Nick Harbor, dude. I was like, wow, well, he is fast, and are you
talking about the touchdown?
The touchdown, and then the long play on the second touchdown. Yeah, that was
okay. I was about to say the touchdown we're gonna look at with Pat, because
the touchdown, he was that was a bust in coverage.
I think with that, they were blitzing the corner there, and then the safety kind of got stuck in. Yeah,
but I was talking about the one on the fade on the on the second touchdown, because he did not score on that one. But the pop pass, the Tebow style pop pass. Seen that? Okay. Ben said he's from North Carolina. Northern California. That's right. We talked about it.
Yeah,
Northern California. Yeah. Thanks for the kind words. Ben listens, because sometimes he'll disagree or agree with something, and he tweets about it. So I know he's listening. So I'm glad I got that text.
I don't know Ben from Adam, but I thought that was an outstanding job. So Ben,
hats off.
Since you are listening, kudos to you, man.
That's for members only. So if you're not a subscriber, go join the Big Spur.
There you go. Yet another reason.
It is an excellent thing.
But no, there was one play he broke it down. And again, when you're watching it in real time, it's hard to pick up all of this, even if you're watching it on TV with the benefit of instant replay. But there's one play where you've got two shallow crosses, and they're kind of crisscrossing in the middle, and then you've got two receivers from the outside just going on a deeper cross. And like that's a hell. There's a lot of design that goes in that. It's also a lot to ask of your receiving core. If somebody screws it up, the play is blown up. But every one of them was on the right page and sync, and it set up a key play, a key first down. I can't remember which one that was to, but they all start bleeding together. But anyway, no, it was nice to see a game where the headline, quite frankly, is not the defense. It's the offense. And the headline is a player that is clearly going to be a force to be reckoned with over the next couple of years, because he's only – and what he's doing now, he's eliminating some of the mistakes that he had before. He's more accurate than he was earlier. And we said this 1,000 times, and it's true. And, DeMarco has said it, and Garcia has said it, and Orth has said it. The game just slows down for you. The more reps you get, the more starts you get. And that's clearly the case. It's just right now, the offense at times looks like a well-oiled machine, which is promising, because in 2 weeks, you're going to get to see how that offense performs in what becomes a massive, massive game. I'll just say this in closing on the bigger picture. If you could just erase one of those LSU, Alabama losses, there's no question Carolina would be sitting pretty for a playoff, which is an insane thought to think that, a team that was picked preseason in the SEC, I can't even remember.
13th,
yeah.
13th. My goodness.
As good as the league is, they might end up there at 5-3.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's crazy.
But this would there wouldn't even be like controversy. Carolina would be in. And there's still, I'm starting to sound like it's election Tuesday. There's an outside path if you can win Alaska. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be really difficult. You want Ohio State to beat the bejesus out of Indiana and somehow knock them out. Obviously, you want Notre Dame to lose and knock them out. You need chaos. You need absolute chaos.
Yeah.
And I'll say one last thing. You mentioned JC and Jamie about the record, and I tweeted about this with Shane. And I don't just tweet out a bunch of stuff after every victory. But it's time to recognize what Shane Beamer has done. And, of course, I got some pushback. Well, he was 5-7 last year. Yeah, I got you, big guy. What Shane Beamer has done in 4 years, you mentioned it's one-off what Spurrier had. With all due respect to Steve, the SEC is a hell of a lot more difficult and better than it was when Steve took over in their first 4 years. A hell of a lot more difficult. So, to me, that record is a little more impressive, what Shane has been able to do in his first 4 years, than what Steve, even the legend Steve Spurrier, did in his first 4 years in Columbia.
And it's much more difficult to keep and build a team now than it was then too, with the portal and name, image, and likeness. We'll step aside. I know John's waiting to get in, so we'll talk to him about the football game, and we'll get some hoops from him as well. But we got plenty on the victory over Missouri today. We'll get into the film room with Pat DiMarco, and we'll talk about that CFP that Mike mentioned and bowl season, because Carolina, it's getting better and better by the week, and it's looking warmer and warmer too. So we'll get more into that. Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, brought to you by our friends at Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. We will be right back.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
The electric grid that had been placed under Lambeau, so that the field would never freeze.
Those two things are all the NCAA has. That's all they have. They're not worth anything without the men's basketball tournament And now, the women's turn.
Listen to these interviews and more on the JC and Morgan podcast by downloading the Chief Sports app. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Well, one of the great holidays up next week, Thanksgiving. We're thankful that Carolina won this weekend in football. Makes our jobs easier. Welcome back, Mike, JB, JC, and Mad Dog, and John Whittle, who was actually covering the basketball team in Bloomington. Excited to talk to him about that trip with John. Carolina snaps a 5-game losing streak to Mizzou. They're 7-3. Wofford, Clemson up next. 4 straight victories, including 3 in the top 25. Good times right now for Carolina football.
Yeah, we all saw this coming, right? After that Old Dominion game. After Ole Miss, we saw them starting to roll, huh? No, it's been a lot of fun to watch. And I know a lot of folks on the Big Spur message boards have been enjoying discussing it because you can't get on there without having to go to the second or even third page for like recent conversation. So generating a lot of chatter, a lot of happy Gamecocks, and certainly should be with the results here in over the last month.
I want to go back to something that Mike and JC both kind of discussed in that last segment in different ways, but I think it's a very important topic to discuss and talk about with this football team, because the story for Carolina the last few weeks has been second half defense. They've been virtually lights out in the second half, winning games with defense. And we did know, and we talked about it a ton around here before the season began, that the defense was going to have to carry them for a few games and allow this offense to kind of figure itself out. Of course, you had a couple of injuries. Rocket and LaNorris both get a little bit banged up, so maybe that took a week or two longer than they thought. But in the second half this week, Missouri made some good adjustments, and they were moving the football at will. And you saw that lead slip, and then it was gone. And so the Carolina offense had to step up to the plate, and they had to win the game differently this week than they've been winning the last few weeks. Give us your thoughts on that and how important that is to this football program as it continues to try to develop itself to be one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, Shane talks about complementary football all the time, and sometimes it's within a game, and sometimes it's game by game. And South Carolina's offense had to pick it up in big moments here this past weekend. And I think the 2-minute offense in general. You look back at the end of the first half, and offense went down and scored a couple times, and then when you needed a big one, you dialed up some really good play calls. Not all of them. So some of them we've seen before, some of them we hadn't, and came through in the clutch. I think it speaks a lot to LaNorris that he can have the composure that he's had in those moments, and you reflect back to some of the growth over the course of the season. He's had some of those opportunities over the course of the year, whether it's, against Alabama or whoever. Like he's had opportunities late in games to be able to run, and he was able to successfully execute it here at the end of this game. And I thought the offense has just continued to improve. It's kind of been in lockstep with LaNorris, but certainly other guys are making big plays too. You look at Rocket, and he didn't have his best game on the ground, but he certainly made that big play when needed, broke the tackles when needed. Josh Simon continues to be a dog out there, game in and game out. It's been impressive, and the O-line had probably one of their best pass blocking days, at least of the year too. So, it was nice to see the offense step up and win a game.
I'm going to say something that I think a lot of people are scared to say, but I'm not. Name a quarterback in this league that's playing better than LaNorris Sellers.
Right now, it's hard.
I don't think there is one. And I can tell you right now, there sure as hell isn't a quarterback in the league that's developed like he has from day one to where we are now after week, 10, 11, 12. I don't even know anymore. But that's not being disrespectful to anybody. It just is what it is. I don't think anybody in the SEC at that position right now is playing better than this kid is.
Yeah, that's an easy argument to make right now. His team's winning. The offense is playing really well. He's making big plays in big moments. He's doing some Herculean things and some Houdini things out there from time to time. So, it'd be a hard point to argue that there's somebody playing better than him right now.
Yeah, even if there is, the fact that he's in the argument is, I think, just says so much. We talked about the receiving core too. I think one of the most important, or maybe the most important thing about a receiving core is, can they catch the football, right? Can you catch it or not? And there's certainly been times around here where that hadn't been the case. 9 different dudes caught it this weekend. 6 had multiple catches, and some names that probably a lot of folks didn't have on their bingo cards made enormous plays. Jared Brown, Dale Von Campbell this weekend. It felt like for a while that LaNorris was kind of creating that camaraderie, if you will, with Josh Simon, which he certainly still has. It seems like that's his safety zone. But he's seeing, if you're completing the ball to 9 different dudes, and some of those you're having to get out and create, I know that means you're seeing the field, John. And to be honest, that's scary to kind of think about, knowing that Rocket Sanders is still your running back.
And 5 different guys caught touchdowns. Didn't mention that. All 5 touchdowns were to different guys, and there were 5 or 6 guys who had 3 or more targets in that game. He's, like, to your point, like he's been able to see the field, spread the ball around, and a little bit of credit to Dowell Loggins too for having play calls for him to be able to spread the ball around to different guys. So it all goes kind of hand in hand. But LaNorris has been phenomenal, and back to the last point, whether somebody out there thinks there's a guy playing better than LaNorris Sellers out there or not, South Carolina wouldn't. Shane Beamer wouldn't want to trade him for anybody out there right now.
I'll make this point too. Final drive of the first half for South Carolina. Not the final drive of the first half, because Missouri did get the ball back. But final drive of the first half for the Gamecocks, there's 1 minute and 27 seconds on the clock. 5 plays later, they're in the end zone. And the final drive of the game for Carolina, obviously besides the interception, they've got 1 minute and 2 to get down the field. And they get down the field, and they're in the end zone, and they win the game. So you're talking about 2-minute drives, quote, but really 1.5-minute drives. LaNorris Sellers takes them right down the field, and they get 14 points out of those 2 drives. John, what's that tell you?
Yeah, 47 seconds, 6 plays, 70 yards. It was perfect. It was flawless. It was certainly helpful to have all 3 timeouts in your pocket, so that you've got some comfort there. You can call what you want, and you don't have to rush. That's helpful, and that helps, I think, keep the quarterback a little bit poised. But he just walked down the field, And, they executed, everybody executed. Like LaNorris stepped up in the pocket, into a good pocket, to hit Campbell for that big play. Everything just sort of clicked. Everybody played their best football in that moment.
Where should they be ranked tomorrow night?
It's a great question. I'll be interested to see how much the committee wants to move things around, based on how teams are playing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I obviously South Carolina's playing great football. I think for them to have made a big jump, they probably would have needed to win that game in a little bit more convincing manner. A win is a win, but at the same time, like if you're trying to impress the committee, if you're trying to impress the human eye, that last drive is impressive, but you look and think that maybe South Carolina should have won a little bit more. I'm not saying that South Carolina is going to drop or bad win or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm not sure if that win moves the needle enough to make the committee have them have a big jump. And they're going to have to do that at some point, I feel like, to be able to get into that playoff. But, I think South Carolina is playing some of the best football out of anybody in the country. Like if you were to ask me where I think South Carolina should be in the playoff, I'm thinking in that 12 to 14 range, at least. I don't know how many of those teams are playing better football than South Carolina that are going to be ranked ahead of them tomorrow night. So, I don't think they're going to get into that 12, 13, 14 range. It wouldn't surprise me if they just went up a notch or two, but I think that they should be in that low teen range.
Well, there are some factors here. Number one, I know Clemson won. I don't know what the hell happened at the end of that game. The quarterback, the Klubnik kid, was trying to run out of bounds. They just didn't tackle him. He just kept going for a touchdown and won the game, but it was a horrible football game. It was ugly from start to finish. There was like 100 penalties in it. So you wonder, will they jump the Tigers because the win was in Pittsburgh? I don't know if they have the kahunas to give Carolina that advantage or not. Stanford, I said this last week, got a couple eyebrow raises. I was right. I thought that was going to be a strange day out in Palo Alto. Louisville loses, so they're going to fall behind Carolina. Washington State lost to New Mexico. They'll fall behind. Arizona State is a good football team. They're 8-2, 5-2 in the Big 12, which is a wacky league. But Kansas State at 16, they lose. You got to figure maybe they drop behind them. I don't know. Maybe they could be up around 16. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen an ending to that Stanford Louisville game like that? Like it was 1st and 10 at midfield for Louisville with like 20 seconds left, something like that. And and Stanford ends up kicking a no turnover. They ran 4 downs, no turnover, and somehow Stanford's able to kick a game-winning field goal.
I like Stanford's coach. He was at one of Mike's favorite schools, Sac State, and won there. They don't have a lot of talent, but they're good. I thought the Louisville being ranked was weird to me. I was like, it kind of made me. That was the one when they were like top 16, and I'm like, based on beating Clemson at Death Valley, because their 3 losses were good losses. It was Miami by a touchdown, Notre Dame by a touchdown, somebody else I can't remember, but I was like, these guys are 6-3. They're in the ACC.
I lost to SMU by a touchdown.
SMU, okay, so and it was a high scoring game. I think Jeff Brom is a great coach, and I think Louisville's going to be in the hunt. But the fact they jumped up there, I'm like that. Yeah, I was very surprised. But hey, they're taken care of, though.
I would say, Carolina's going to move up a few spots. They're clearly going to be the highest ranked 3-loss team, and should leapfrog. The Big 12. Big 12 is a nice story. It really is. But it's a different level of football. It just is. So if you're a 2-loss Big 12 team and you're ahead of Carolina, if you're sitting there in that committee room, do you really believe on a neutral field against this Carolina team right now that 2-loss Big 12 team would win? Do you really believe that? Or are you just going, well, they only got 2 losses and Carolina's got 3, so conventional wisdom says I got to put – I doubt it. What I think it comes down to, guys, again, barring like Ohio State winning by 50 on Indiana, 4 teams get in from the Big Ten. Notre Dame gets in as long as they don't stub their toe against Army. The Big 12 champion, and only the Big 12 champion, I've been harping on this for weeks now, Big 12 gets 1 team, ACC gets 1 team. So, and then the group of 5, whether it's Boise State, don't sleep on Tulane, by the way. They're looking like a better team than Boise State. Well, that's 8 spots right there, what I just mentioned.
Right.
So then you get 4 left for the SEC. And here are the teams you're going to be choosing from. Georgia, in no particular order. Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and South Carolina.
Yes.
What do you have to?
Is that 7 teams, Mike? That's
that
7,
is
right?
7.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 teams from those 7. That's how I think this is going to unfold. Again, barring mass chaos, and chaos has happened before. That's why we love college football. But you have to see, okay, how many of those SC? That's who you're competing with at this point. The other teams in your league. How many of those SEC teams I just mentioned, of those 7, can you leapfrog to get in the 4 slots that the SEC is likely to get?
You need the gold helmets.
You need a lot of help.
I mean, Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech to beat their in-state rivals, which this year, I can't rule it out. Most years I'm like, well, if you're going to need Georgia Tech to beat Georgia, that's going to be a tall task. But, dude,
it ain't happening.
Oh, my.
It ain't happening. I'm
Michael,
telling you right now. I've seen this
ye
movie too many times.
Ye have little faith.
I got more faith in Vandy than I do in Georgia Tech beating Georgia. Georgia reminded everybody on Saturday, hey, don't forget about us. We can play some ball.
All those good teams are like that. The team that's probably the least deserving of those teams that are the 7 you mentioned is Texas. I mean, it's not a coincidence that they had the easiest schedule. And they're the best. They have the best record. I mean, that's very. It's. They have name a quality win for them this year. Not living off the win in Tuscaloosa in 2023. This year, what is their best win?
It's either at Arkansas or at Vanderbilt, right? Or would you say at Michigan?
I wouldn't. Michigan's average is grits.
I mean, but to put it into context, it was the 2nd weekend of the year on the road in the Big House.
And Michigan couldn't throw the ball then.
Yeah,
and they can't throw the ball now. I mean,
no, I know,
and they got a lot of mileage at Michigan out of beating Southern Cal, and we saw how bad. So I mean, I'm with you. That was probably a pretty impressive win. John, what do you think?
It's one of those 3.
How about Texas?
Well, I think that Vanderbilt's beaten Tennessee 6 times since South Carolina's lost to Vandy.
That's a good point.
maybe Vandy has a fighting chance.
That's a great.
They like beating the Vols more than the Gamecocks. So,
shall I get back on the bandwagon of the kill zone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was at Florida. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what to think of LSU. John, we won't bore you with all that. We're going to come back to all that stuff.
Yeah, my bad on that.
No, that's me. I went off down that road. But I do want to get to some quick hoops with you before we get you out of here, though. But your final thoughts on that win this weekend for South Carolina, and moving forward now that you're staying in the state. You got Wofford, and then you'll head to the upstate on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Brady Cook for going out there and playing the way he did. I mean, he's obviously hurt. He's obviously banged up in a lot of ways. I wasn't surprised to see him play. I was surprised to see him play so well. And they got the ground game going in the second half. Kudos to them for fighting the way they did. But, obviously South Carolina accomplished something, because not a whole lot of teams have been able to beat Brady Cook. Not a whole lot of teams have been able to beat Missouri here these last couple of years. So the fact that South Carolina was able to go out and win the game that Missouri has been winning is, I think, speaks a ton for what this Gamecocks team is, because that's exactly how Missouri's been winning games this year. Just hang in there, and figure out a way to just get a one more point on the board than the other team at the end of the game. And, South Carolina was the one that was able to do that this time. So, just incredible stuff from Shane Beamer and the way he's instilled that confidence and belief in his team, and for South Carolina to go out and execute like they did.
Again, up next, 4:00 kick Saturday, Williams-Brice Stadium. It is Salute the Troops weekend. If you like the tip of the cap to the military, you'll want to be there. If you're not planning on being there, get your tickets. And it's the final home game of the year. They have sold out every home game this year, and Tom Hart did say it correctly Saturday night when Rocket Sanders fell into the end zone. It literally moved, and it also registered like a 2.9 on the Richter scale.
You can see
for those that may have missed that.
I'm clipping that, JB, and making it into a short.
I mean,
the last word you're going to say in that clip is going to be moved.
Yeah,
it literally moved.
It did. It's over on Rosewood Drive now. If you haven't been to Columbia,
oh my God,
Bryce tumbled over to Rosewood Drive.
I wouldn't talk about the stadium, but go ahead.
No,
it literally moved. I mean, the kids say that these days. So anyway, go on.
I don't know what that means.
It moved.
It moved. It literally moved. And now Jamie's talking about being on Rosewood Drive. I'm just beyond impressed. I'm going to shut up now.
John, Carolina Falls 87-71 in Bloomington on Saturday. A lot of folks didn't get a chance to see the ball game because they were out tailgating, getting ready for football. Tell us what happened up there.
I mean, 17-1 run early in the game for IU. I mean, is basically what happened in that one. South Carolina cut it down to 3 at one point in the first half, but it was just too much. Indiana got it back up to 17 at one point in the second half. Carolina got it down to 8 with 1:19 remaining, and then Indiana went on one more run just to put it away. 8-0 run over the last 1:19 to clinch it, made their free throws. Carolina missed some shots. Colin Murray Boyles just was never in it. IU wanted to take him out of it. He was on the wrong end of some iffy calls on both ends, both from the offensive side and defensive side. Didn't get a couple of fouls calls, got a couple of fouls called against him that just, and he just wasn't in that game. And, that's a big deal when you don't have your best player who's in the game from a foul standpoint, but also in the game from a ability standpoint. But, South Carolina's 2 leading scorers were just non-existent. Jacoby Wright was 2 of 11 from the field. He's been killing it all year. He had 6 points, and Murray Boyles was 1 of 4 from the field, 5 fouls. He did have a few rebounds, but he was turning the ball over left and right too. I mean, he had 4 turnovers in 19 minutes. So, it was just it was a bad day for South Carolina's best players to pick to have a bad game. And, Nick Pringle was great. Indiana's got an incredible front court. I mean, they got 3 guys down there who are just dudes, and Nick Pringle did a great job. But, South Carolina shot 23 pointers in the first half. They scored the first 4 points of the game in the paint, and then just started jacking up threes left and right. And some of them went in, and most of them were good shots, but it wasn't the path to victory the other day. So, I talked to Lamont after the game for a while. He said a lot of what he saw was encouraging, just from the standpoint that, they fell behind big and, stayed in the game, kept it somewhat within shouting distance. And, with the way that a couple of guys played, he was encouraged that some of the others were able to hang around. There were a couple of guys who played really well. I mentioned Pringle. Morris Ugasuk had the game of his life. Hopefully it's not one of those Dwayne Day performances. Dwayne Day dropped, like, Mike, you may remember, I don't know, like
yes,
30 against Florida or whatever it was, just shooting lights out, and then you never hear from him again. Hopefully that's not Morris Ugasuk on this day, but it was an incredible experience down up there and at Assembly Hall. I hadn't been there before, never been to IU before, so incredible experience for me from a personal standpoint.
When did you drive back from Bloomington?
Well, I didn't drive back from Bloomington. I drove back from Middletown, Ohio, where I was seeing South Carolina basketball signee EJ Walker play a couple of high school scrimmage games. So went to Pacers on Friday night up in Carolina, in Indiana, Bloomington Saturday, and little high school hoops on Sunday morning before coming back last night.
Does anybody work harder than you?
I may have passed
harder than John.
me and the crew may have passed you on the highway.
Hey, speaking of work, I want to thank you for helping facilitate Will Tippett. What a representative for Gamecock baseball. Kid's gonna have a big year. He's a good kid. Good kid. He did a great job for us on Saturday.
I love that guy. I'll just be honest.
Well, good. I know that they've wrapped up fall ball and he had another really nice fall this year. Hopefully that success will translate into success this season, this coming year. It certainly did not last year from an offensive standpoint. Thought he played well defensively overall last year, but just didn't carry over offensively. This year he was tops on the team in batting average, second in OPS, and maybe that'll carry over this time around.
I hope so. He's going to be playing some first base, it sounds like. So,
by the way, thoughts and prayers to Daryl Cooper and his family. For those that don't know, Daryl ran the Dugout Club for years. Yeah. He was as big a proponent of Gamecock baseball as you could find. Daryl was over there at the Sarge and then the new park founders, game in, game out, but behind the scenes did so much. So I saw that on social media. I don't know exactly what the day was, and maybe you guys already covered it. But Carolina lost a great one recently with Daryl Cooper.
That's well said. Yeah, well said. Yeah, that was Thursday maybe last week, Thursday or Friday, I think. Somewhere.
John, I'm sure you knew him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Great guy. Did a tremendous service for the baseball program when, whether it was in good times or in lean times, he was always a fixture around the ballpark. So, certainly going to miss him. There've been several notable Gamecocks who have passed away recently.
Too many.
Yeah.
Too many. I know. I need to lock myself in a closet.
Yeah, just great fans who have passed. So it'll be sad not seeing Daryl out there this year.
John, we'll get some parting shots here. You're always writing something. So what are we looking for in the Big Spur over the next couple of days?
Well, I've been spending so much time in the car here lately. I haven't had a whole heck of a lot of time to write some of the things that I've been doing. There's going to be a little bit more wrap up coverage from Indiana. I gotta get some of the stuff out on EJ Walker and the basketball recruiting class as a whole. But shoot, man, like is interesting and as great as those things are, like it's football time right now, brother. It's awesome. So it's I leaned a little bit heavily on Hale and Alex here lately to carry some of that load, but man, these last two games are going to be a lot of fun, and to see how things shake out, over these next 3 weeks, to see where South Carolina ends up. So, next week is obviously Thanksgiving week, and I may need to punt me to Tuesday next week as I'm thinking about it, because I'll probably be down in Fort Myers for that basketball tournament on Monday and Wednesday. So
whatever you need.
Yeah.
You have carte blanche.
Yeah. I don't know that I want to go down to Tampa for the ReliaQuest Bowl, not because the fact that South Carolina's been down there a few times, but I don't know that I want to go to the same spot twice in the period of a month. So,
well, Fort Myers is about an hour. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. Fort Myers, Naples is it's still west coast of Florida, but you got to drive a little bit past.
South of Tampa.
Yeah, that's a hell of a long way to go. I don't want to go down there twice.
Hey, I tell you what we're going to do with the Big Spur, the ReliaQuest Bowl. Of course, that used to be the Outback Bowl. We're going to bring back like some former Big Spur staffers and send them with you, make you share a room.
John Del Bianco, let's go.
Let's get him on. I'm thinking photographers and their kids.
Jeff Davis.
Everybody, dude. I'm just fired up about it. But no. Yeah,
I'll go down and say
little Spool, who's probably 30 years old now. You know,
make it easy. Just so everybody will just all go down and stay in Garcia's compound. Fire his AR-15 from his Humvee.
Dude, I don't know if I can survive staying in Lutz with Garcia. I'm getting way too old for that. But it would be a lot of fun. A memory of a lifetime. So, nah, man, I think if they win out, there's a good shot. Now with LSU fading quickly and, just the teams, other than Carolina, who's going to be really interested in the Capital One Bowl? They like Carolina. I think they could end up in.
If you went out 6-game winning streak with 4 ranked wins, and that everybody's going to want them. So
I think,
and the fans, they know the fans will travel. They'll gobble up tickets.
Everybody will want them. So.
Yeah, but so maybe you may get I like for bowls. I like Orlando better than Tampa, so you may get a reprieve on that little.
John,
be okay. I'll take that. I do feel the need to say, like, South Carolina doesn't go to Tampa or Orlando every year. I think there's just like this big thought that that's where we always go. We hadn't been there since 2017 season.
Yeah,
like been there 3 times in the last 20 years to Tampa. Been to Orlando twice in the last. Been there 3 times in program history, and once was in 1975.
Right. So
if that trip is really still hanging with you, I mean, let's get over it a little bit. Tampa and Orlando, you haven't been there in a minute, so enjoy whichever one.
I think Universal just opened a new theme park too for those with kids and families and stuff. So, the Orlando probably better than Tampa. Yeah, there's this perception that they always go to Tampa for some reason. I don't know.
It goes back to 2000, 2001, the back-to-back.
Yeah, back-to-back, and then. Then the hit was down there, and then so anyway, it ought to be good.
Good things happen in Tampa generally. Well, why not want to go where good things happen?
Yeah, like Clemson won the national championship there, right?
Yeah. All right, John, we'll get you out of here, man. We're at the end of the hour, brother. Great to see you. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Always. Thanks to the great John Whittle. Palm Casual presents Hour 1, palmcasual.com. It's holiday season. If that's it this year, y'all have decided we're going to do outdoor furniture, something big, something nice, something we'll keep, something we want, not the junk that goes in the trash. Palmcasual.com, Gamecock owned and Gamecock operated. Oh, the Rooster is going to take us to break, and Pat DiMarco will pick it up there when we return.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
If you're a fan of music, incredible storytelling,
one of our friends had met this beautiful girl at the bar that night.
A bit of history, you should check out my new show, Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis. Every episode features a unique South Carolina town, a different stage, and music from world-class singer-songwriters. Join me for Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, in Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products in out-of-state locations. Gamecock owned and operated. Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com.
Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the DeMarco and presented by our friends at Resto Pros and the South Carolina Education Lottery. Mike, JC, JB, Mad Dog, and the great Pat DiMarco. But some news here real quick, Pat, before we get to you. LaNorris Sellers has been named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week for his performance against Missouri this weekend. 21 of 30 for 353 and 5 touchdown passes. He also added 45 yards on the ground. That's 398 yards of total offense for LaNorris Sellers. This is pretty cool, too. He joined Spencer Rattler, Tommy Suggs, Jeff Grant, Steve Tannehill, Savell Newton, Dylan Thompson, and Jake Bentley as Gamecocks with 5 or more touchdown passes in a game. So your thoughts overall on the win, and how about LaNorris Sellers and what he's developing into here in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, stadium was electric. Was kind of one of those eerie games. You know, we had control the first half. Second half just was weird. Like Missouri was like, oh, shit, we can run the ball. And they kind of leaned into us pretty good there in the second half, running the ball. They were very efficient. But, you know, we found a way. You know, what's his name? Campbell made 2 huge plays, kind of sparked everything. LaNorris did LaNorris things. I feel like ever since Steven and I interviewed LaNorris, like he's Yeah. I think we did it, guys.
That's it exactly. Yeah.
I think we
Thanks,
unleashed
man.
the beast.
You're the man.
Basically called him a wuss for sliding, and he's just gone beast mode. So you're welcome, Gamecock Nation. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's right. You did a great job, man. Thanks for everything. It's definitely put that on your back. Yeah, Pat, they've been winning with defense, and then in the second half, Missouri made some adjustments. Me and JC were over at Michael's after the game, talking to him in Brandeis and talking about the numbers. Missouri had numbers, and why they were so effective to be able to run the football. Walk us through what you saw there.
Yeah, I mean, the second half, I feel like the first half, Brady Cook played pretty well. He was efficient in the first half, and then the second half, they just kind of started leaning on that run. That running back was Noel. They were just running like mid-zone, wide zone, and just Drinkwitz has always had a good system where they kind of get married to that, wide zone, mid-zone, where they press the line of scrimmage. They have a pretty good O-line up front. We have a pretty good D-line up front, but primarily teams have tried to throw the ball against us. And, this was just one of those games where I feel like we were catching a little bit up front. They found some efficiency there. But, we were able to answer when it was time to answer. And then obviously that last drive when we knew it was passing situations, Kennard gets a sack on, first or second down and the big pick. So it was just, a very well balanced game. We weren't crazy efficient running the ball. We averaged like right around 3 yards a carry. I think we had a little over 100 yards rushing. Rocket, did what he needed to do, but it wasn't one of those takeover games besides the last play, which was pretty incredible. But no, just a very fun game. Just a will your way to victory. And they did that. And these next 2 weeks could get very, very interesting. College football, there's a couple matchups coming up this week that could have a huge say in what happens with the playoff and all that. But it's going to be interesting how it all shakes out.
Yeah. How about this week? Because you're coming off of an emotional night. All the things that were involved in that game, the losing streak, the lead, you give up the lead, you win at the last second, basically. Place is going bonkers. And in 2 weeks what's coming. But you've got Wofford sandwiched in between. And I'm not acting like they're going to go out there and get beat by Wofford. That's not what I'm talking about. But, Pat, just the importance of this week and continuing to do things the right way. Like you don't want to go beat Wofford, but not feel great about kind of sleepwalk through 4 quarters. They've got some things they got to work on. So
we kind of got exposed a little bit in the run game, and none of that's a bad thing because I think that's a thing that we just haven't been challenged on. And so I would imagine it's going to be a point of emphasis this week. I have not watched a play of Wofford football.
Why not? I'm just kidding. All right.
Not at the top of my list. Are they still running triple option or like what's
no?
So
there's more traditional. It's just a normal college FCS.
I don't know if that's been
offense.
Good for them. Citadel beat them this weekend.
That's better for us. You don't I used to hate going into games where playing a triple option team or some team that does something very unorthodox. So at least it'll be something we're similar to seeing. Our D-line won't get cut every play, every play. But no, this is definitely a game. Steven and I talked about it earlier, Garcia, that if we want to have a shot at the playoff, one, we have to win these 2 games. We have to kind of win pretty handily these next 2 weeks. And, I think starting off, you can't sleep on Wofford. When I played Wofford, we played Wofford in 2008 or 2009. We beat them by 14, and we were pretty good back then. Just Wofford's not a team that's going to roll up into Columbia, roll over and die. They're going to come in. They're going to compete. It's an in-state school, and there's a bunch of I'm sure a lot of those guys on that team wanted to play Carolina but weren't good enough, so they're going to come out with their hair on fire. And I would imagine Shane, just knowing Shane and his emphasis on our culture and continuing to get better every week after week, and we're not trying to peak in week 11 or week 12, whatever it's coming up on. We're trying to peak the very last game of the season is when we want to peak. So we're going to be motivated, and especially LaNorris is playing absolutely lights out.
Let me ask you about that real quick. Let me ask you about a couple of things. We mentioned this with John, and we've got a lengthy set of plays to get to today, so we'll get to it here in just a minute. But LaNorris, both times at the end of the first half and the end of the second half, 2-minute drive, which actually was 1 minute and 27 seconds and 1 minute and 2 seconds. He takes them down the field and he puts the ball in the end zone. I think like a total of 9 or 10 plays. But at the end of the half, you got to score. They score. At the end of the game, you have to score. You're going to lose, and they score. You were on staff with Coach Beamer. I'm sure maybe some things have changed a little bit, but you did play in the league. Walk us through what football teams do to prepare for 2-minute drills like that. How is LaNorris and that offense, how are they prepared for that moment?
Yeah, well, situational football is honestly, when I was in Atlanta and in Buffalo, where I spent 4 and 4, it was something we worked on at the beginning of every practice. So 5 days a week, we did some sort of situational football, whether it's a situation, hey, we're in 2 minute here, we got 1 timeout, and we're down 4. So, you got to score a touchdown. We had a different scenario every single day. We'd be in 4 minute, hey, we're up 2, and there's 1 minute and 14 seconds left. The defense has all 3 timeouts. We have to convert, and then we have to, stuff like that. And I know Shane kind of knows that model too. And when I was on staff there, we did, I want to say it was 2 to 3 times a week we did situational stuff. And same thing, different instances, 1 timeout, 2 timeouts, up, down. One time we might be servicing the offense, defense. So, both sides of the ball get plenty of work of situational football. But, I think what you see with a lot of offenses kind of flourish more in that fast system where you don't have to sit there and sit in the huddle and takes 10 seconds to get the play and everybody gets lined up, motion shift, jet sweep. Like, you kind of just line up and you play football, and you're playing and you're running a lot of the stuff that you run. When you think 2 minute, you're running a lot of your basic elementary stuff out of, foundational formations. You don't have that many moving parts, where it's kind of just like line up, put the ball down, and let's go play football. Was the first half touchdown, was that the little bubble screen? Not bubble screen. Was that the screen to Jared Brown? Was that the touchdown at the end of the first half?
Yeah, I think so. I'm confusing that one with another one though.
Yeah, that was the last touchdown of the first half. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Had you not asked, I would have spit it out. But yeah, that was the one for 38 yards. 38 yards. Yeah, to Jared Brown. We're going to look at that here in just a minute too. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and pull it up since it is kind of lengthy, and then we can fuss and discuss and have some fun with Pat. Get into the film room here on our Talkin Ball segment, as we do every week on IGG. That's actually
3-0 Missouri, 7:35 to go.
Is that not muted? Can you mute that, Phil? There you go. I must have not muted some of this stuff. Here we go. There's the touchdown pass to Harbor where the corner blitz and the safety never got over and picked him up.
Yeah, this is just miscommunication. You kind of see you see the corner looking over his left shoulder, and you see the safety looking down at him over his right, like down upon the right. So obviously some miscommunication here, but don't hate it. Go Gamecocks. Easy touchdown. Not like Nick Harbor kind of having the feel to seeing the trigger and then just expanding, getting away from that safety as much as he can and kind of holding that. There's no red line there, but there's on every practice field, there's an imaginary red line where if you drift outside of it, you're too close to the sideline. So holding that red line, LaNorris just, throwing a good catchable ball to him, and it's a heck of a way to get started right there.
Nick Harbor the last couple of weeks has looked really, really good. We'll come back to that, but this is that jump pass.
Pause that. We have I got something like on those corner blitz plays. We in Atlanta, Kyle Shanahan had we had a call where if we were running the ball and we noticed a corner trigger that we obviously couldn't get to, like in the run game, those guys are just going to hit you in the backfield every time. We kind of ran something similar, but it wasn't a seam ball. It was just like an eject route. And we were able to do it 2 or 3 times with Julio, which was pretty impressive. I mean, Kyle was very pleased. He's like, you install this and it works in practice, but you rarely are able to execute it in game. But no, this was a lot better than an 8-yard gain, which we had. This was a 20
real quick. Hey, Phil, real quick, go back to about halfway through that play there. What are they doing here defensively? What are they preparing for? Because look at this. Virtually every wide out down the field is wide open. I mean, he could have thrown 3 different guys.
Yeah, I imagine they're supposed to be in a cover 3 because both middle seams are wide open. Yeah, they're in a cover 3. You see the top corner, he's bailing. Safety's in the middle of the field. And then the other safety is in – he's playing curl flat when he's supposed to be playing deep third.
Yeah, well, he could have thrown 3 touchdowns on that same play. It looked at least 2 of them. Maybe they got in the middle of the field.
Who was that? Mazio running up the seam over there? He was wide open.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next one here. This is that little jump pass. Tim Tebow made it pretty famous a while back. Not exactly like that, but it does go.
I threw one of these in high school. Check the tape. I threw one of these in high school. But no, this is, a beautiful, this is Q power read, pop pass. Josh does a really good job here of ejecting out and going and trying to step on that nickel's toes. And it's almost as soon as you see that backer or that nickel, whatever, number 32, whatever position he is, as soon as you see him go to react to the run, it's like a sucker play. You're just sitting there waiting until he goes to engage with you, and then you just kind of allay him. We actually run a play similar to this in 8-year-old flag football, but it's off of reverse. It's like the most badass play you've ever seen. We just have a hard time executing it because it's like a fake wide handoff, a reverse going the other way. I tell my backside receiver, go block this guy until he goes to make the play, go pull the flag on the guy with the ball, and then go run your route. Patience is not easy for 8 and 9-year-olds. So this worked a lot better than what ours usually does. But Josh Simon's having a heck of a year. Another touchdown. You can tell he's like a silent leader on this team. He's not a crazy big vocal rah-rah. He's not in the middle of every pile. But obviously he's played a bunch of football. He's making a lot of big plays, and you can tell guys just flock to him.
I'll say this about Josh Simon. I had a chance to at an NIL event last spring in Columbia. He got there before everybody. So I got to say that I had a chance to that dude, when you talk to him, he is very understated and humble and all that, but he is competitive. And I'll tell you why, because Trey Knox got there. And Trey is very gregarious, like a very big personality, shaking hands and stuff like that. And it's not that he wasn't friends with Trey. I mean, these guys all get along, but you could tell he was kind of like, man, this is my competition. I got to beat this guy out, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He's got some, and you can tell it with what he does with yards, yak yards too, man. I mean, that guy, he's relentless when he gets the ball. So just wanted to add that little piece.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a chip on his shoulder too. I mean, he was a Western Kentucky guy, kind of under recruited. I don't think, I don't know through our recruiting process, JC, you might know more about it, but who are we fighting? Who were we fighting with him to get a transfer here? Was it anybody?
It was Michigan State. Michigan State tried to throw some cash at him, and he wanted to come home, so that wasn't it. And even on that level of things, that's a guy that probably after his tape got out last year at South Carolina could have gone and cashed in for somebody out there. And he's taken care of, but it wasn't like crazy. But I think because of the work he's put in, he's about to get paid for real.
Yeah.
Because Pat, do you think he's an NFL guy?
I think he's for sure an NFL guy. He's shown a lot to me. I always knew from watching his tape at Western that he could go out and catch the ball and he could make plays with his legs. he's really impressed me with putting his hand in the ground and digging out the C gap, arc release, and he's a very smart, savvy football player. I mean, I think he's very easily going to be a 3rd to 5th round pick, and I think he's going to have a long NFL career if he can, what everybody needs to do if you're not a 1st or 2nd round pick, you have to play on special teams. Josh is a guy who I think is going to buy into whatever system he's in, and he's going to do whatever you ask him to do. But I think he's going to have a really, really good NFL career because he's physical. He's a good leader, and how he can stretch defense. Obviously, what we're seeing right now. I mean, what was it 2 weeks ago when he had the 70-yard touchdown catch against A&M, or was that Vandy?
That was
hurdled that guy on
that
the
was
little
A&M. The second to last one of the game. He also had like a 40-something yard catch and run against A&M, and they used that little. They were running that little pass that they do to him that they've kind of run all year, and Missouri kind of tried to take that away. It was a different type of attack with him this time, but he could do just about anything. I mean, I think as far as route running and all that. But I'm with you, Pat. He's really gotten after. Sean Elliott's done a good job getting him to play physical this year. More. Not that he wasn't last year. He's always physical with the ball. But that blocking, sometimes guys that are really talented, got great ball skills. The blocking part of it of tight end are like, I don't know. And in the NFL, really in the SEC as well, you have to play physical and block. That's where your value comes from. And I think that learning that, because out of high school, he was a big receiver. He wasn't Western moved to tight end. They ran an air raid, so he wasn't blocking there. He was just kind of a air raid tight end. And so very proud of Josh.
He reminds me of Isaiah Likely, who was under-recruited, went to Coastal
That's actually
Carolina.
a very good comparison right there. I've watched a lot of Baltimore tape.
Yeah.
Mike did a good job blocking in space and in the field.
And likely, eventually he'll take over for Mark Andrews when he retires. That's kind of Lamar's favorite tight end target. But they're built the same. Mm-hmm. They have the agility, the same type of agility, and likely went in the 4th round. And he was a stud at Coastal. Yeah. And to your point, Pat, that might be the neighborhood, like you said, 3rd, 4th round, but you could still have a hell of a career, make a lot of good money in the league at that position if you can do that.
Yep. You get a lot more grace being drafted in the 3rd, 4th round than you do as an undrafted free agent.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, we'll get back to it here. I can't even see this. It's a little choppy for some reason. Oh, this is the 38-yard touchdown pass, the screen that they ran to Jared Brown.
But we're speaking of the guy that just had that touchdown catch on that pop pass. This is you can't really see it, but Josh motions across, and you're told when you're the first guy on a screen, you block MDM. You block whoever shows up first. He goes and takes, I think it's the safety that comes down, and then what's his name? Bell. Kamar Bell, who is in a guard, comes out and he's second out, and he actually adjusts off Josh and works to the corner. The corner sunk. Yeah, it was the backer showed up first. Josh takes the backer. Bell plays off Josh, goes and takes the corner. Vershawn is third out and goes and works up on the safety. And, Jared does a great job here of I feel like we've talked about him a lot of his playmaking with the ball in his hands. We haven't really seen it as much. But here you see him press his blockers, run through arm tackles, and get in the end zone here. This was big right before halftime.
Yeah, it was a huge play. He made it 21 to 6.
Yep.
Just love
I do too.
Play.
When it works. It looks terrible when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't block, it's a PFL.
Work.
It's a tackle for loss.
God awful when you don't block. But man, it was, and like we were talking with Perry a few weeks ago, not to toot my own horn, but I thought the guy that could catch, make people miss, taking the house just like Brown did. I thought Brown was one. I mentioned, like I said before, I mentioned Campbell, but I thought I was wrong. I thought I'm making too much out of that catch against Akron. But Campbell can catch and run the ball too. They can both make people miss. So, and those guys hadn't been healthy. So there you go.
We'll see if we can't get this cleaned up here. This was the Houdini pass.
Yeah, I mean, this is like we're reliving A&M here. He gets almost his head ripped off. He spins out of it and makes a big play. But this is just
this
LaNorris
is his Heisman
LaNorris
moment,
thing.
Pat. Don't you think? I mean, this is like if you wanted to define the special abilities that he has that a lot of quarterbacks, even good quarterbacks, simply don't. It's that play.
Yeah, I mean, this is 2 times in 2 weeks that he's done something like this, and this is on 3rd and 10, and is the game tied? Or are we down 3 here or up 3? Yeah, we're down.
So that you almost have to punt it at that point because there was enough time left to justify it, put it on your defense. So you have to punt it to a Missouri team that's winning at that point and hope that your defense can get a stop. And this, we already talked about, it wasn't the best day of the year for the defense. So this play was everything.
Yeah, everything. I mean, and Brady Cook catches this. It's 3rd and 10. He catches it at 8 yards, kind of gets hit, stumbles forward, bounces through, and big pickup of 11, and that leads on to this next play that we're going to watch, and that's Campbell's big catch. I mean, and this is, we're in trouble if LaNorris doesn't make this play. And I was at home at this point. We left at halftime because we had the kids with us. And this number 15, this guy that misses this tackle, got absolutely so much love. I think he made 2 or 3 big plays before this. And then this play happens, and you kind of see LaNorris be Superman here and make this play. It was very, very wholesome to see, LaNorris, who's we see growing up right before our eyes right now, him make a very, very special play and, puts the team on his back on that play.
Yeah, there's no doubt. The next play is the Campbell. And I put both of those in here for that reason, Pat, is the fact that he kept it alive here. And then the play that we're going to see to Delvon Campbell, who had the 2 catches for 86 yards in the game, really seemed like a very simple route, just a curl. And he hit him in the chest, and he was able to get out of there.
Yeah, and on that last play, I mean, I know the video wasn't great, but Rocket did a great job in blitz pickup there on that last play. Yeah, this is just it's actually a 7-man pro. You got all 5 linemen. You got Rocket and Brady are both in there. And whenever you run a curl concept, you run a flat with it too to try to have flat control. So you want to pull the curl flat guy out of the way so you can hit the curl behind it. So Brady releases to the flat here, widens this backer out, gives them the curl seam right there. Throws the ball kind of high and inside. And, Campbell, is he a 4-3 guy? I feel like he just runs away from people.
He's about 4.45, Pat.
Yeah. I mean, he is scooting and flying right there, but just great individual effort there. He threatens him with speed, and when you run a curl route, if you just go run and you're playing man or press coverage, you got to go step on his toes. So he kind of stems outside and make the guy think he's running a fade, and then he shuts it down and has some cushion. Is able to catch the ball on his inside shoulder, turn up, make the safety miss, and really makes a heck of a play here.
Well blocked too, well protected.
Yep.
About like it's supposed to be there. And
a 47-yard catch and run here. How about that number?
Oh, well, I'll be John Brown. You don't see that a lot. 47 as in 47 for Pat DiMarco?
Yeah, don't take that away from me.
I won't.
Don't take that away from me.
Maybe the most famous 47 of all time when you think about it. How many 47s are there?
42 in the league, but 47 in Columbia.
Number one in your heart. Number one in your heart.
You're just number 44.5 to us. Well,
the guy that's on a heater right now, here's Campbell. Rocket does a good job. No, this isn't Rocket in pass protection, but this play, I mean, we're down 3 here. We're down 3 here, right?
Down here at the end of the game.
Gets us in field goal range, a big 39-yard play. LaNorris does a good job kind of feeling the pocket, stepping up and flowing right. So it's a mesh concept. I was trying to figure out what was going on here because Campbell's this guy in motion right here. And he's basically the third wave of this, basically creating a bunch set. But you got the high-low concept of the 2 guys kind of picking for each other. And then usually when you run mesh, there's a top of the TP, but usually he's there very early. So you have the 2 mesh guys that clear, that pull the backers out, and then you have the top of the TP guy that's sitting in zone. So if it's man, you're usually hitting the low mesh, if it's zone, you're letting those two mesh guys spread the backers out, and then you're sitting the other receiver right on top. I mean, he doesn't sit down here. He kind of catches it. Maybe it's because that's where LaNorris is moving to. But, I mean, this is another heck of a play. Catch and run, 39 yards, gets us in field goal range. You know, gives you an opportunity to at least tie the game here. And, you know, I think Shane said it in his press conference. We weren't playing for the tie. We were going down there to try to score a touchdown. And sure enough, they did with this next play.
That's right. Yeah, Rocket gets in here, Pat. They ran the same play almost in the Alabama game.
Yeah, I mean, and I wish the video content was better here because, like, Josh Simon, like, this is kind of one of those plays where, like, this is a read. They're reading that defensive end. If that defensive end crashes, then he's going to spit it to Josh because, like, the shovel pass is dead if the DN crashes because the guard – whose bell here is pulling around. He's tight. He's pulling for the play side linebacker. So when that DN plays upfield, kind of frees up Rocket, and Rocket just does Rocket things. And speaking of having an NFL career, he's going to have a heck of one as well. I would imagine he's going to be probably a second to fourth round running back taken.
Wow.
And I think he's going to test really well. It was cool to see, you know, there are all the question marks. Is he going to be healthy for us? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? And, you know, even going into training, fall camp, he wasn't completely healthy when fall camp started. To see kind of his development back here at Carolina and then seeing, you know, him be that bell cow and, you know, he's running the ball like a bat out of hell. He's doing a great job in the pass game, which we've seen. He's had several explosive pass catches over the last couple of weeks.
What I love about that play, Pat, and by the way, I don't know why I heard watching highlights somebody call it a shuffle pass. There's no such thing as a shovel, shovel, shovel pass.
Yeah.
The shuffle pass is something concocted out of somebody's imagination. But
It's
what I
a
love
shuffleboard.
Yeah, exactly. Shuffleboard, you know, you do that in Miami when you're 80. Shuffle pass is what you throw in a football game. But what I love about that play, there's a number of things about it. And like you said, when it's a little less grainy, you can tell.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's dropped or the pitch is low or Rocket just doesn't catch it. It's an incomplete pass, not a fumble. So you take a lot of the oh crap element out of a play like that, where for some reason anything goes wrong. And remember, they still had, I think, 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, you go back. It's not a turnover.
Yeah, look at that shoulder punch by Rocky right there. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, he's trying to inflict pain on the defense. Like, and maybe I bet Missouri woke up yesterday like, what the hell just happened?
He's going to finish with right near 1,000 on the ground, and he's well over 200 in receiving.
Yep.
So he's going to be like over 1,200.
And he's showing what he can do, like all the stuff that NFL scouts are looking for. He can run the ball, he can catch the ball in the backfield, and his like pass protection has been awesome this year. We've highlighted it probably 7 or 8 times in our clips. Like, you know, these big explosive plays aren't happening if, you know, there's not 6 guys in pass protection and keeping people off the quarterback.
He was not going to be denied getting into the end zone there. 4 missed tackles for.
Yeah, I mean, this is like just been so fun. This team is having a blast playing football. Like an SEC and NFL schedule, like it's long and it's hard and it's brutal at times. And sometimes you can see it just wear on teams. I feel like this team is like kind of like leaning into it. Like, you know, preseason, we had like one of the hardest schedules in the SEC. I think they're kind of like, cool, bring it on. Like, as it gets tougher, we're going to continue to play better. And obviously, as a Gamecock, a guy who played here and loves this program through and through, it's very cool to see kind of the resilience this team has, and you know, just the will to go out there and then you know, Kennard has a sack going in the last drive. Like, finally, we're able to kind of pin our ears back and get after the quarterback. He has a sack, and then Kilgore finishes it off with a pick. So just an all-around great win. LaNorris over 300 yards. we're seeing him develop right before our eyes. I mean, we said it going into this year that we're going to go as he goes, and we are. He's playing some of his best football these last few weeks, and that's why, you know, we're relevant. Like, people are talking about us. Nobody wants to play us right now.
The other thing that I would just end on this for me personally, what Shane said in the post game. I don't know if it was with Cole on the sideline or on the post game presser, but it's become a little cliche at times when people say culture. We got a good culture. But I do believe in that, especially in the college game. And you're closer than most, Patrick, to what the locker room is like in this group. It just seems to me like this program right now has elite culture, and that is not something to just overlook.
Well, Shane's done a great job recruiting. He's gotten really good players in here, but he's gotten really good people. And I think that stems with the coaching staff. That stems from him and like his time, energy, effort. Like, you know, I'm not involved with the program anymore, but I follow it pretty tightly, and I see the stuff they're doing in the off season, the team bonding activities. You know, I did a lot of I've done a lot of philanthropic stuff here in Columbia, and I've tried to include the Gamecock football team along with it. And they follow up with me all the time. Like, we're going to have a Christmas shopping event here in a couple weeks. And when I was on the sideline pregame, I had like 4 or 5 guys come up to me. They're about to go play Missouri, and they're like, "Hey, we're still doing that shopping event that we've done the last few years with you guys. It's one of my favorite events of the year." So there's great people in that building, top to bottom. And it's just a joy to see good things happen to good people, and for, you know, Shane to put this team together and make this run and to watch them compete the way they compete. I mean, as a fullback, like, it was always hard, and to watch these guys go out there and through the thick of it, not blink, not bat an eye, you know, kind of what's next mentality. It is, you know, it's really cool.
Speaking of blinking, Zach Brandeis told us Saturday night, he was down there on the sidelines, you know, towards that end zone when Rocket scored. He said Beamer was on the headset, and he looked over and happened to make contact with Brandeis, and he winked at him right before the play, as in, like, watch this.
Yep.
And then he ran into the end zone, and I was like, "You got to be." JC was standing right there. Heard that story. He said, "You got to be kidding me." He goes, "No." He looked right at me, he winked and smiled, and then Rocket took it into the end zone.
That's crazy. Pretty cool.
It's pretty
Brandeis, man. He's the right place at the right time. Like,
he's always in the right place at the right time. Always.
You want to know where he was not in the right place at the right time? That was on the golf course on Friday. We got our freaking teeth kicked in. Defending champs. You know, me and Stephen Flint last year were defending champs. Yeah. We had 2 new people play this year. Zach was one of them. Love Zach to death, but he did not bring his A game on Friday. But
who was the 4th? Was it Thig then?
No, it was Kevin Andrews, a buddy of ours from college who, oh gosh, hopefully he doesn't listen to the show, but he was terrible, absolutely terrible. But we did a good job drinking and having a good time. We went to dinner that night. It was cool to link up with all those guys again. It's the first time me, Steven, and Zach have been together in 2 or 3 years. So it was good to reminisce and hang out. But we got a team's going to be changed up next year. That can't happen again. I'm going to start paying people.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, it's NIL. There you go. NIL for the alumni golf tournament. Letterman's golf tournament, sorry. Pat, we'll let you run. I know you got to get out of here. We're past due to get you off and back to your day job, but always appreciate it. When we talk next, we'll be teeing you up for the Clemson Tigers, man.
We'll be talking a lot of Wofford football. See you guys.
Thanks, bud. There you go. Tailgate Talks will be available a new episode this Wednesday morning, right there on the Chief Sports app. Powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com. We should be about 10 minutes away from getting an official kick time for Clemson in South Carolina. And that is coming. We still got to get into some bowl and CFP and tiebreaker stuff, all kinds of stuff to talk about today.
Informed speculation. It's a nooner.
Yeah, I heard that this morning.
Which is fine with
they announced it though.
Fine with me.
The ACC.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, the ACC. You never know. And actually, Mike could shed some light on why they are the kings of the 6-day window.
Would love to know an answer to that question. We'll hit a timeout. It's 12:38. Electric Bikes of Charleston powers ITG, and we'll be right back.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
I'm not allowed to tell the ref how bad he is, so I'm going to need you to do that for me. Oh. He said, "You're gone."
I'm a beggar who could use some help. I'm a seeker, searching for myself. I'm a rolling stone, just waiting on a friend. I'm a lover, wishing on a star for another, with a broken heart to hold each other close till the end.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com, and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
I'm talking real gunslingers. I'm talking real outlaws. They saddle up and ride on into town. And it was high noon in the most saloons. You knew what was going down. And they took it outside. Took it outside. It was man to man, toe to toe. You know they had to go, and nobody's gonna break it up. Not until you've had enough. If you think you've got the guts, and let's take it outside. If you think you're man enough, you really wanna knuckle up. If you wanna shed a little blood, then let's take it outside. Let's take it outside.
12:43. One more chance to see them under the lights. That's this Saturday. Wofford, Carolina, 4:00 kick. But the lights were shaking on this past Saturday night as South Carolina finally upended Missouri. So we should get that kick time here in just a minute. JC, I know you had a question about why the ACC sucks at giving these things ahead of time. Mike, do you have the answer?
They don't. I mean, look, they don't have much going. I mean, it helps. It helps that the Florida State is a ACC game, and it's in Tallahassee, and that's not going to be a big draw. Although the Gators could be going for bowl eligibility after beating Mad Brian Kelly this weekend.
We're going to get into the SEC stuff.
Yeah, but it's not. It was the biggest game that the ACC has. But what people need to understand is there's ABC and ESPN are making all these decisions.
Bingo.
And it's not just like, and the SEC games that are those conference games are already kind of slotted with like A&M's an either or. It's like either midday or night. It's not going to be at noon. Vandy, Tennessee's already early, but it's not an SEC home game. I mean, Georgia Tech moved to Friday, by the way. They moved that instead of Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson fans are going to complain that it's a noon game if it is. But look, you had a chance to move it to prime time on Black Friday, and you didn't. So,
yeah, I would just you hit on the key thing, JC. This is not an ACC call, and it's not a ACC network call. It's an ESPN ABC call, and because Florida's fighting for bowl eligibility, but that game is kind of a dud for the rest of the country. Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, you're being kind.
Well, but
Florida State sucks.
Of course, but they look at it. What I always try to remind people is that they look at this thing differently. Brand names very often equal ratings, which is why Carolina Clemson will almost never be a priority over Texas A&M, and Auburn, Alabama.
Right.
And that's why there's a good chance this game will be at noon. We'll see what it winds up. I don't have an inside source that's told me anything on exactly when it would be, but that would be my guess. Is that they're going to put all their Texas A&M for that. This is going to be a great litmus test for what that's going to look like ratings wise in the future. And this is where, unless it's 11-0 Carolina, 11-0 Clemson, and even then, Texas just has a massive population and a massive both have massive fan bases. I was just in College Station. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like that entire state just revolves around those two programs, with all due respect to Baylor and Texas Tech and Houston and everybody else. And those are considered, especially Texas, a major brand. So they're going to want to have that at night in all likelihood. And then 3:30, remember, CBS has dominated Auburn, Alabama. They've had a monopoly on that for decades. Well, now this is ABC's first crack at it, and I would guess that would line up at 3:30. So then the question becomes, okay, is it an ABC Carolina Clemson game?
Yeah.
Go up against Ohio State, Michigan? Or do they go ESPN and put it in a different time slot? But my guess would be that'd be my guess, because this is one of the most intriguing Carolina Clemson games. Both teams ranked. Carolina
It'll be 8-3 and 9-2.
Right.
Yeah.
And Carolina has become a major storyline. Like, it's not just, as I always like to say, sometimes you got to look outside the bubble. Outside the bubble, Carolina is getting a lot of buzz. I'll have some interesting numbers, by the way, courtesy of Chris Marler later on in the show. But so I think that, and Clemson certainly has been a kind of perennial contender, even though they're clearly on a downslide from where they were not too long ago with 6 consecutive playoffs. So this game has intrigue that it doesn't for the bean counters that come up with these TV schedules. Ordinarily, this slips through the cracks. It just does. But this year, I don't think so.
Yeah, a couple things here, real quick. Some breaking news in college football. Tom Herman has been fired at FAU.
Wow.
Which
Wow. Talk about a guy whose stock has plummeted.
Ooh.
Jeez.
Yeah, not looking good for old Tommy. The other thing too with Clemson, so right now in the ACC, SMU is in the driver's seat, obviously, to be in Charlotte in their first year in the league. Clemson finished at 7-1, although they probably should have lost to Pitt this weekend, but they didn't. Miami is 5-1, so they still have 2 league games to play. The tiebreaker rules go head-to-head, number 1, but none of those teams played, right? So then it's winning percentage versus common opponents, and then winning percentage versus common opponents based upon their finish. So here's where it all stands. SMU at 9-1, 6-0 in the league. And this is another thing. I'm kind of adding to your point, Mike, as far as ratings and who's paying attention to what, not just the rivalry. But SMU at 9-1, 6-0 in the league. They've got to go to Virginia, and then they host Cal. Looks good. Looks good right now that SMU could finish undefeated, but who knows? Clemson just has a citadel in South Carolina, of course. And so they're just kind of waiting around to see what happens with Miami and the Mustangs, as we just pointed out. Miami's got Wake, and then they got a very, very tricky game at the end of the year. And this is where Clemson might luck out. They got to go to Syracuse. Miami goes to Syracuse in their final game. So obviously, if the Hurricanes lose the game and SMU wins out, Clemson's going to be in the ACC championship game against SMU. But if Miami wins out and SMU wins out, or even if SMU just loses one game, then it's going to be Miami and SMU that will be in the ACC title game. So we're waiting to see what those other 2 teams do. But as of right now, Clemson is not.
And by the way, what an indictment on the ACC if SMU in its first year playing big boy football gets to the championship game in Charlotte. More indicative of where the ACC is as a league in football. But go ahead.
I will say one thing, because I talk all the time about how it's hard to build an offensive line through the transfer portal, but our friend Tom Luganbill and J.C. Morgan mentioned last week, Rhett Lashley at SMU is one of the schools that pulled it off.
Yeah.
They actually built a pretty good O-line from the portal. Just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, because
that's an outlier. You know,
that is an outlier. It's you don't want to live. You don't want to live on O-line portal guys on a position that really usually requires kind of homegrown products with chemistry and cohesion and all that. But it's worked for them, and they also got the benefit of the doubt in the schedule. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they're the equivalent of what Texas and Missouri were on the SEC 8-game slate. But if to bring this back up, the potential to somehow get in that playoff, what you'd really want, as hard as it is to do, you would want Clemson to win the ACC. You would actually want to root for Clemson to win the ACC. You'd want A&M to beat Texas.
Yeah, and win
the SEC. And then Carolina could claim, even though they have 3 losses, which will be more than all the other teams that people are talking about in those final couple of slots. Yeah, but they had a tougher schedule, and they beat the ACC champion, and they beat the SEC champion. And they're the hottest team in America. This team belongs in. Like at that point, you've got a pretty damn strong argument. But that's kind of what you'd be pulling for to happen.
I agree. I mean,
we mentioned that Friday. I don't think anybody has it in their gut to do it, though.
A&M's got I mean, look, it didn't bother me. Clemson beat Pitt like they did. It was a very sloppy football game, and not a great, like JB pointed out, not a great game. But they've struggled with Pitt before. And,
there was like 30 penalties in the game too.
Yeah, Clemson's found a way the last 2 weeks since the Louisville lost in 2 environments that aren't easy to go play in. But you're right, because you do want that. Mike's right on the resume. You also want as many 9-3 SEC teams as you can get. I think it's probably unrealistic to think Texas is going to fall to 9-3. If they were going to get tripped up, probably was going to be Arkansas, and that game was close for a long time. I don't see Kentucky going in there and beating them. Although if Texas sleepwalks, Texas has proven through the years they can lose to anybody. If they have one of those, well, we're the mighty Texas Longhorns. We're just going to roll the ball out and go play, and Kentucky's pissed off. Which, I don't know. I don't know what their motivation's like. They could, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's much more likely they go down in College Station. A&M's got a game at Auburn this weekend that could get kind of tricky, depending on what's been going on at Auburn, the last couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens. I think you want as much chaos as possible, but Mike is right. If you win the Clemson game, you want the Tigers to have maybe sneak in and get that ACC title. I think if Clemson makes it to Charlotte, they're going to be a tough out for SMU or a Miami team that, much like Texas,
agreed,
sometimes does not show up.
One of those teams are that good.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami really should have had at least another loss. If we're going to talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda, they should have lost the Virginia Tech game. It took an egregious overturn without indisputable evidence to gift wrap them that one. Then they had another one when they're on the west coast of Cal. Go back and watch the officiating the last 2 minutes of that game. My goodness.
Yeah.
Did they have you tattooed on their left deltoid? Were they wearing a gold chain saying, "What up, y'all"? It certainly seemed like it. But nevertheless, that's kind of as I'm looking at just different paths to the playoff. And obviously it starts with beating Clemson, which that alone will give good vibes. And we should point out, we were talking about bowl games earlier. How many 10-win seasons in the history of this program? Because if you beat Clemson and you win your bowl game, 10-win season.
Right.
That's pretty damn historic. I mean,
it'd be the fifth ever.
Yeah.
The fifth time 10 or more wins. 84 was the only actual 10-win season. Spurrier, of course, won 11 3 straight games. Bowl, it's hard to sit there and say, as good as this team's been playing, that the bowl game will look similar, just because and this is a reason for everybody to show up Saturday. If I feel like a hypocrite because there's no way I'm going to be able to drive 13 hours round trip to make it. So I'm admitting I'm hypocritical. But if you can show up, it's senior day, and there's a ton of guys on this team that have been here a long, long time. Taka Hemingway, Boogie Huntley, Bam Martin Scott's been here for a minute. Debo Williams, that were part of the transition, part of a lot of struggles. And they could have, O'Donnell Fortune, Jamie's guy. And they could have packed it in and left. And they didn't. Not to mention guys like TJ Sanders and Nick Eamon-Warray, who I'd be surprised if they didn't go pro because they're projected first rounders, second rounders right now. A guy like Rocket Sanders, who restarted his career here. And I mean, that, like I said earlier, that Rocket Sanders play wasn't to get me to the NFL play. It's going to help him. That was I want to win play. That was guts. And it's not the first time he's done that this year. He's Rocket Sanders. He probably could have coasted this year, still gotten a free agent deal. If he, depending on how he did at the combine, somebody was still to draft him. With his injury situation on a 3-loss football team, he could have shot. He didn't. He got better, and he's helped this team win. So there's a lot of guys that will be lacing it up for the last time Saturday at Williams-Brice.
100% agree with that. It's a senior day. It's Military Appreciation Day. It's one of the neatest events of the year at the University of South Carolina, honoring both of those things. All right, we're at the end of the hour. Kickoff times are coming up. We'll look at the rest of what happened in the SEC this weekend and around the country as well, and talk about some bowl stuff too. Got a long, fun hour ahead. Inside the Gamecocks, this show built by the Barn Co. and presented by Palm Casual. We'll be right back.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case.
Nice.
So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Bells ringing down cobblestone Charleston streets. She's the morning sun rising on the horseshoe at USC. She's moonlight on black water, a John Deere down a Greer farm road, moving nice and slow. No, there ain't nothing like her. She's a southern one of a kind. Even in my dreams I still find her. She's like an old friend awaiting when I close my eyes. And how lucky I am to call her mine. No, you'll never find another like my Carolina. My Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. My Carolina. South Carolina. South Carolina.
Hour 3, ITG. Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show brought to you by our buddy Tony Pope at State Farm, TonyPope.com. Tony Pope State Farm, serving South Carolina and Georgia. Mike, JC, JB, and Phil. And here, officially, are the kick times for the SEC on Thanksgiving weekend. We knew about the Egg Bowl at 3:30 on Friday on ABC that night. It is Georgia Tech and Georgia between the hedges, 7:30 on ABC. And then Saturday, 3 games at noon, Tennessee and Vandy on ABC. Louisville at Kentucky at noon on the SEC Network. And your Gamecocks in the upstate against Clemson at noon on ESPN. The 3:30 time slot is full of Auburn and Alabama in the Iron Bowl on ABC. And on the SEC Network, Arkansas at Mizzou. That is also a 3:30 kick. 7 o'clock, Oklahoma at LSU on ESPN. Florida State is at 7 or 7:30 on ESPN2. And we already, of course, knew about Texas and Texas A&M and figured it would be there at 7:30 on ABC. So officially, there you go.
Gamecocks in the SEC era, 1992 on. They played Clemson up there 7 times at noon, 4-3, South Carolina's record in those games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
including 2022, the win 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're going to go on the road, for 2 reasons, I'd rather play at noon. 1, the football team generally hates sitting around all day. But 2, it's I feel like it's a lot safer to play at noon than it is at night. Crazy things happen at night. So it is what it is. But I'd rather be at noon than at night up there. That's for sure. I do think that once again, as Mike was saying before we went to break, I do think that there will be some misunderstandings as to why those times were laid out the way that they are. At the end of the day, I don't really care. I just like seeing what the slate is and knowing where the Gamecocks play. But like Oklahoma at LSU, Florida at Florida State, you know, those 2 games being at night, it's not like it once was. They already have their primetime game set. That's 7:30, Texas at Texas A&M. So they're trying to set it up by window.
They're setting it up by window, and they're setting it up by brands.
Right.
Like I've been saying for months, that's the way they look at it.
Yeah.
So like somebody asked about Auburn, Alabama, why would you care about? Because it's
Auburn, Alabama.
It's Auburn, Alabama. I don't know what, you know, and Alabama is as big a brand as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you start looking at again, population of those states where it's in-state rivalries. That's why Michigan Ohio State is such a cash cow ratings grab, can't lose, because you combine two major states.
Right.
All these other ones are just one state. So when you got states like Texas and Florida and Georgia, the massive populations of those compared to a Mississippi, a South Carolina. What about Alabama? Again, Auburn, Alabama is just different in the eyes of the people that make these decisions, and they know the calculus. That goes above and beyond population. It goes to brand, and there's no bigger brand in the sport than Alabama.
Hey,
and that rivalry, quite frankly, that rivalry rarely disappoints. I mean, last year, let's not forget,
Agreed.
Auburn had Alabama beat, and Auburn was awful last year too. And it took a Jalen Milroe last-second pass to win that game. How many times under Gus Malzahn did an Auburn team that on paper, ostensibly, was overmatched and an underdog, and they upset Nick Saban? The kick six. I mean, there's just that is a national, oh my goodness, it's Auburn, Alabama, it's the Iron Bowl. So you're not going to win that battle.
Well, and think too about this, Mike. Think about how many storylines are on that Saturday, right? Potential storylines that could be on that Saturday right now. SEC championship game stuff for Texas A&M. Can Florida get into a bowl game? Shoot, Oklahoma and LSU. I mean, those two teams obviously not having the year that they want to have, but right now you're looking at an Oklahoma team that's got 5 wins. LSU's got 6 wins. Oklahoma's got Alabama coming up this weekend. They could be playing for a bowl game that night. Obviously, Clemson, Carolina could have some playoff stuff on the line. Maybe not. Who knows? Tennessee could be playing for their playoff lives in that game. I mean, there's a lot of storylines that day.
Help me out again. Which one is noon ABC?
Tennessee at Vandy.
Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Yeah.
That was the only surprise that I had from this.
That's the one that surprises me.
Yeah. I thought Carolina Clemson would be on ABC.
But I will say, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Tennessee, you mentioned geographic footprint. The state of Tennessee is large. They have a large fan base. People, we don't ever sit there and talk about whose fan base is bigger. A lot, nobody does, but there are a ton of Vol fans because it's a big state, and they're the team.
I wonder too. Those are 2 SEC teams. The SEC office wants, if you can get a matchup of 2 SEC teams on ABC as opposed to SEC ACC, there's no love lost between the SEC and the ACC. There's a lot of things I could say on that I really can't say on that.
Sure,
but I'll just tell you that they really value the ABC window. And Carolina's already been on ABC 3 or 4 times.
More than they've never been on network TV as much as they have this year ever.
Yeah, it's a massive win for Carolina to get that kind of exposure. But yeah, if Clemson was in the SEC, I have no doubt Carolina Clemson would be on ABC over Tennessee Vanderbilt. But one's 2 SEC programs, one's SEC ACC, and I think that kind of goes into that calculus as well. Plus, I don't know how many times Tennessee's been on ABC this year.
I guess that they were Saturday night. Alabama was on ABC. I'm trying to think. Was Arkansas? Arkansas was nighttime. But on the road. No, this game's in Nashville, though. Vanderbilt, I don't think, at home. Maybe the Texas game was an afternoon on ABC. I don't know for sure. No, that was SEC Network.
That was SEC Network.
I don't think they've been to Nashville for an ABC game,
and that could play into it as well.
Maybe
when CBS had the deal, people would wonder, why is Vandy, Georgia on the CBS? Because there's a little bit of, hey, we can't just use the same 4 programs every time. We got to get other programs some love, and that includes Vanderbilt. So I don't know if that might have been a factor.
And look, Vandy, Tennessee, it's an in-state rivalry game, whatever. they call it a rivalry.
But nothing like Carolina Clemson.
No, it's been a dump. But this year, I mean, when do you have a chance to say both teams are good? Both teams have been ranked. This has national playoff implications for that game. That game's usually shoved on SEC Network at different times and things of that nature.
Yeah,
but this is an ACC call, and probably for that conference, the noon slot on ABC on ESPN is probably about as good as that weekend's going to be, because at night they put Florida State at night, but that's going up against Texas A&M, which will have massive implications. And it's a game that people that just like to watch hatred can watch, because they hadn't played in so long, and those schools absolutely hate it. It's been a travesty they hadn't played.
Yeah,
but those schools just freaking cannot. I mean, it's as good of a rivalry as there is. I don't hate it. Look, this is a Clemson showcase game. It's their home game. Who cares?
Let me ask y'all this: now that we've seen this, knowing what the league has looked like this year with Texas and Oklahoma, now that we're seeing this and knowing that the option is there, should South Carolina, maybe they are, we don't know, re-engage the conversation to potentially play this game on Friday, like Clemson was approached?
I've always thought that should be in play, Jamie. This goes back to when I was hosting shows in Columbia, because I look at what that playing on a different day, previously Thanksgiving, what it's done for the Egg Bowl. Ole Miss Mississippi State is a terrific game within the boundaries of Mississippi, and most other people could care less about it before it got moved to a window that everybody was like, oh, damn, this game really is good. These two fan bases really do hate one another. This is really quality football. I think I'll give it a shot. And you know what? I will even look forward to it the following year as I digest my 8 pounds of turkey and wonder how much longer I can hold off a bowel movement in somebody else's toilet. There's something for you around lunchtime. I've always thought that if you want to get this game the most exposure, I've always thought that would have been a great idea. And I know there's always going to be pushback on that because the holidays and everything else. I get it. But
for Clemson people, it's like they have it's a different situation than South Carolina in the sense that, and it's a lot like Georgia. That's why I was really shocked Georgia moved the Tech game to Friday in Athens, in that they're kind of geographically isolated. A lot of their fans live east of Columbia toward the coast.
Is that a permanent
drive to get
JC,
there.
is that a
I don't
permanent
think
move?
so. I don't think so. And it's happened. It's been that Georgia Tech's moved around some before. I remember
Georgia Tech next year is in the Benz.
I know.
So they can make
on
more
Saturday,
money.
right?
They're not even playing on one of the
Georgia
home
Tech's answer was, "We need the money, dude." and rightfully so. But look,
I think it's awful, by the way, but that's a whole other story.
I do too. But
hold on. I want you to include this in your answer if you know the question. If you know the answer to the question, real quick. So, is there a world that we're living in? Like, remember, decades ago, it was Big Thursday, right, for Carolina Clemson. Are we living in a world where when they play in the upstate, they could play on Saturday, and if they play in Columbia, they could play on Friday night?
I mean, all that's negotiable if the two athletic directors get together and say it's so and go to ESPN and say this is what we'd like. I doubt there'd be any pushback on that because they would love. What happens is for the TV networks, it's really a missed opportunity to have so many great rivalry games all played on the same day. Because people only have so many times they can watch or hit the clicker and go back and forth and back and forth. They'd rather have it spread out like they do in week 1, where you've got huge game on Saturday, huge game on Sunday, huge game on Monday. That's where TV does the best. That's where they get the most eyeballs, and therefore they make the most money in advertising. So they would love to have a Carolina Clemson on a Friday, even if it is every other year.
Well, yeah, and look, the SEC's got a little doubleheader on Black Friday. That day has been Missouri, Arkansas since they threw that rivalry together, quote quote, but Missouri Arkansas is not. It's moved to Saturday this year, but you got the Egg Bowl kicking at 3:30, and then Georgia Tech after that. That's good football to watch on Black Friday. I mean, hell, so many people, if they do go out to shop that day, you're ready to be home with a drink and a leftover turkey sandwich by 2:30. All right, so the world, to answer your question, Jamie, Dabo sounded a little open to it. He was like, well, they want to do it in Columbia. That's fine with me. I just think with Clemson and their game day operations and the fact that the town depends so much on Clemson home games. And then here's something we're not thinking about. And I'm going to be a little empathetic toward them. I hope nobody minds. By the way, this is a McKellar Enterprises red beanie I have on. It is not orange. It is my camera. If you think it's orange, it's Meredith. She's a Gamecock. It doesn't say me. That would be really something. If I showed up with a bead that said me, it said me that was orange. What would
he hate me?
He hate me. I love that. Yeah. Best of all time. But all right, so their economy in Clemson is very dependent on Clemson home games because it becomes, what do they say? Brent used to say third largest. Back then, it was third largest city in the state when they have that. And I'm not saying there would be less of a crowd on Friday, but there, as far as the game goes, especially if it was night, there would be less people going over and staying in hotels. There would be less people at the SO club the night before. There would be less people paying for parking all day, less people spending money at the buy low on 123. And I'm empathetic to that. I understand that. And that was Dabo's reasoning behind it. The ACC loves Friday night games, and Clemson's played in their share, but they're never at home. So it's not like they're just saying, we're going to stick our finger because this is something South Carolina wants to do. We're going to stick our finger in their eye. Whereas in Columbia, yes, USC impacts the economy greatly, but it's easier to get to. It's more centrally located. You're still going to make money in Columbia on a Black Friday game day. There's no question about it. You may even make more, but you're not, the impact on the Clemson economy is a little bit different when you move game days around. And they probably have some data that shows that, like when they play on a Monday or when they played on a Thursday through the years, that, hey, we don't get our nut, or as much of one when you guys move games around. And so I kind of understand that, but there's nothing that stops it from moving to Big Friday in Columbia. I personally think, guys, and this is a big, long discussion, and we could talk about it some other time. I personally think this rivalry game, along with Kentucky, Louisville, Florida State, and Georgia Tech, I don't think it's going to be long for this weekend. I think depending on what they do with conference schedules and stuff, we could in our lifetime see it move off of rivalry weekend to another date. It'll never not be played. Some people say that. I don't agree with that. I think it'll always be played, but I don't know that as we move on down the road with the playoff and conference expansion and things like that, unless Clemson joins the SEC, which I don't think is going to happen right now. I think we could see it move.
I think that would piss off people more than anything. If you put this on week 3 or week 1 or week 8,
well, I mean, it's going to be I honestly think a lot of the conference rivalry games will start to move, Mike. I think that it gets to be too much when you're talking about, all right, we're rivalry weekend and then conference championship and then playoff and then all that. I think I just kind of reading the tea leaves. People have alluded to it, it may be that we have a different rivalry weekend. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've heard the same thing you have. I'm not saying it's not being kicked around. I think a lot of ideas are being kicked around because of the reasons you just mentioned. We are going to have a pretty significant paradigm shift in scheduling across the board. And then other people still want to maximize the exposure of this game. And I've never thought it's been maximized. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm very proud to have been part of what I think is one of the most underrated, best rivalries in college football. And to a lot of the country, they don't know that. because it just gets completely lost in the shuffle on that Saturday. But if you moved it to Friday, again, I make the Egg Bowl analogy. It would do just as much, if not more, for Carolina Clemson as it did for Ole Miss, Mississippi State. So I think that should be in play and talked about and seriously considered. But
yeah, in the early 2010s when these teams were good, both really good, it's still 11, 12, and 13 every time it was a nighttime kickoff at both places on ESPN. So it's not like network television's gobbled this bad boy up. But in fact, network television has televised, I think, twice, guys. ABC in 2022, and then ABC in the infamous push-off game in 2000.
Rod Gardner.
So even though the ABC's had the ACC, even when it's up there,
think about this
put it
too.
On network television.
If Carolina is expected to be 8-3, Clemson's expected to be 9-2, and in the future of college football, in a 16-team playoff, that game's going to be for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, heck,
you talk about bringing your rivalry to a different level.
Right.
Rivals playing for a playoff spot at the end of the year. Give me that all day long.
And
give me that all day long.
It wouldn't be the last time that's the case. You know that because Clemson's days of like you can just pencil them in at the beginning of the year. That's clearly not the case anymore. And Carolina's program appears to be on the rise, not just this year, but I'd say the future is pretty bright, dare I say. Yeah, I think, look, I just think it's and some of these other ones, I can just tell you, I've been to every one of them now that I think about it. Every one of these SEC in-state rivalries, I've been to, and I've called Carolina Clemson on national radio. I've called Auburn, Alabama on national radio. I've been to Florida State, Louisville, Kentucky. I have not been to, but my wife's family told me plenty about that, and I have a pretty good idea what that's all about. Like Carolina Clemson is right up there because you obviously every game sells out, but we're not just talking selling out. Like when Georgia Tech, there isn't a reason why Georgia Tech's being played in Atlanta. Number one, it's a money grab. Number two, when Georgia plays Georgia Tech, they pack the fans. It's red and black more than it is gold and blue. Like Georgia makes that a home game. It's a smaller stadium. Carolina Clemson, what does Death Valley seat? Is it about 80 as well?
81,000.
Okay, so you got two stadiums that basically seat around 80, packed to the gills, loud as hell. It's a state that has no pro teams, and so you can set your watch to everybody in the entire state is dialed into it. It's everything that TV wants and everything that people tuning in on a holiday weekend wants to see, but it's routinely gotten lost in the shuffle. Well, I don't really care about TV and stuff. Well, you should, because all that factors into recruiting and revenues and everything else. You want to have the best exposure for this game, and I've always thought it gets shorted in the overall kind of nexus of rivalry weekend.
Well said. I agree with that. I've been in this game, I don't know how many times, 20-something times in the ballpark watching these teams play, and it's as good of an atmosphere as you'll find in the country. But it's been up to Carolina to raise the brand of this. They just haven't been good enough consistently. Maybe that's beginning to change. Who knows? It's 1:27. We need to hit a break here. Phil, we got one left or two?
Can we mention some of our other sponsors?
100%. Go
before
for it.
the show's over. The Carolina Jackpot $5 scratch-off ticket is back, giving you a chance to win up to $200,000 while supporting future Gamecocks across the state. You also have a chance to win $50,000, $75,000, or $100,000 live at an upcoming women's basketball game. See SCEducationLottery.com for game odds and details. Also, for all your mortgage needs, Troy Brenham of Golden Gate Mortgage, locally owned and operated for 27 years. Troy has been the guy, a graduate of USC, a longtime season ticket holder, and a guy that you want to talk about, a guy who knows the numbers. And when you know the numbers, you know how to save your clients a lot of money. So it's a great time to refi right now. A lot of things changing economically. And when he sends me a text that says, good time to do it, tell the folks. That's what we do here. We tell the folks, we help the people, we serve the community. 803-238-0111. That's 803-238-0111. No matter where you are in South Carolina, Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage can help you today.
It is almost 1:30. Man, this day is moving slow. I got to get my voice back. We're working on it, though. We're working on that. Hang tight. ITG will be right back.
We've been through a lot recently, and through it all, one thing is for sure. Love is central to the Carolinas. It's who we are, a family, together, and just in time for the season of Thanksgiving. The perfect time for your friends at Love Chevrolet to say thank you for the privilege of being able to serve the great people of the Midlands as your hometown Chevy dealer since 1961. Year after year, generation after generation, a tradition built upon doing what is right. Throw in a lot full of award-winning Chevys like the Silverado, Tahoe, or Suburban, and Love's famous $1,000 low price guarantee, and you have yourself one heck of a buying experience. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer because of you. Love really is central to the Carolinas, and thankfully, so is Love Chevy. I-26 at Harbison and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Well, it's not always raining. There'll be days like this. When there's no one complaining. There'll be days like this. When everything falls into place. Like the flick of a switch. Oh, my mama told me there'll be days like this. When you don't need to worry.
The seasons are changing. Fall is headed into winter. Christmas right around the corner. Don't forget to shop and spend some money with all of our incredible partners here. That you can find many of them on the app. If you pull up the app, the Chief Sports app. We thank all of you. I want to thank everybody too who came to our tailgate at TLC on Saturday. Had a chance to meet all of us, obviously, and John Strickland and Michael Flint and all of our buddies. We were out there hanging out with all of you. The food was tremendous. The atmosphere was awesome. Getting to know you and your families and things like that. Thank all of you for being Club Chief members and for coming out and tailgating for a few hours before the ball game. That was a blast. We're going to do it again. We'll have 1 or 2 of those a season. And we got some cool stuff coming up for baseball and basketball, and we hope to see many of you at those as well. So hope you all had as much fun as we did and had a tremendous day. It was a beautiful day, weather and the game. I mean, it just couldn't have been any better. So Thank you.
No, worked out great.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was
Wasn't it?
perfect.
That was fun.
Yeah, thanks. Great seeing everybody Saturday. And somebody, Steven, asked earlier in the chat box how my stepson liked it.
I think he liked it.
Yeah, the game. And look, I'll be very transparent here. I don't make it to the stadium as much as I should. Whatever they're doing, the Gamecock games have always been fun. I mean, they've always had great crowds.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing now is next level.
Yeah.
Mike, you love movies. It is a cinematic extravaganza.
Yeah.
I mean, and I figured this out. I'm going to write a column about this later, so I don't want to get too much into it. You guys know the Welcome to Williams-Brice video where the stadium basically talks. I think it's Gary Barboza that does the voice. I'm not sure. It sounds like it sounds like him. I am a sandstorm.
Gamecock
or whatever. Look, so they've built on that, and they've kind of personified the stadium. And like my favorite part of the whole thing, besides the actual football, was like, okay, so we're in kind of a weird time where you got a day, it starts as a day game and goes at night. Well, about sundown, midway through the third quarter during a timeout, the damn stadium just says switches over to night mode. Like, I mean, it's like it's alive. I mean, seriously, it goes starts rumbling and stuff. And then all of a sudden the lights go down and it's literally like it's night. It goes straight from like, you think it's day light outside and all of a sudden, I mean, there's not even a word spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Williams-Brice Stadium literally is alive. By the way, somebody mentioned Xavier Leggett. My stepson caught him going into the stadium because he's on one of his buddies' fantasy teams and got a selfie with Xavier walking in the stadium.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, after I'm not going to get too into the fiasco Phil and I experienced on the way in on the golf cart. We're not going to talk about that because I don't want to get called as a witness to anything.
Right.
Jesus. That's all I got to say about that. But man, I mean, it was, he had the best day. He's never been to even a pro football game. I mean, this kid, he's kind of an understated guy. He doesn't show a lot of emotion, which is good. I kind of taught him that because I'm very emotional and don't be like me. Be stoic. That's always best. Mm-hmm. And he could barely hold it back, like his excitement. And then really for somebody like him who's like didn't grow up a diehard fan or anything, just watching a great football game. And he was looking forward to seeing Luther Burden. And I mean, as bad as it was for all of us, it was kind of cool that he got to see Luther catch a big touchdown pass. And because he talks about, he loves players. Like I'm trying to get him into like evaluations and stuff. Cause he just loves individual plays, loves the draft, Mike. Like he loves the NFL draft.
Good man.
So he's a players guy. And and Xavier couldn't have been more accommodating. Cole wasn't the only one that took a picture with him. It was 4 or 5 people, and Xavier was always so nice and gracious. But man, I guess I got lost on it a couple of times I've been about just what kind of environment it's. I mean, 2001 is still a big deal, but it's just a highlight. It's not the big moment anymore. I mean, it's the whole thing is like insane.
You texted me something about all that and mentioned about how Ray deserves a lot of the credit for that, and he does. And let me just tell you, and I'm sure this has happened in other programs. I know for a fact that if you went back like 20, 25 years ago and somebody said, hey, like there's this techno song that's called Sandstorm, and I really think it'd get the fans juiced. Some previous administrations, if a certain heavy donor who's like 75 said, I don't believe in that stuff, we're not turning this damn thing into a rock concert, that would prevail. That would win out.
Yes.
And Carolina would get caught behind, all in the name of making sure of keeping that particular person happy. That's not the case anymore. You're in a battle with the 75-inch high-definition TV more than you've ever been. and attendance in some places has actually taken a hit in college football. Not because people don't love college football anymore, but because they're getting priced out, or they don't want to deal with long bathroom lines. They don't want to deal with traffic. They don't want to deal with obnoxious guy who's got his knee in his back in the row behind him. So you have to put on a show. You have to be creative more than you ever have. And I see it at not just Carolina, I see it all over the place. Like, it's turning into a show because that's what you have to do to get a lot of particularly younger fans to go.
This thing, I've been to a lot of stadiums. This thing is ahead of the curve. It's just, it's orchestrated. You know, it used to be, who's the secret starter? Or they call it the special spurrier. Oh, it's Frank Martin.
Which, by the way, Paul Maneri.
That was great. Paul Maneri's
so
like,
funny.
let's just kick these guys' ass.
Let's open up a can of whoop ass on them.
A can of whoop ass. It was one of the better ones I've ever seen.
I sent him a note this morning and said, "Good job, that a boy."
Frank Martin did it his first year here when Carolina wasted Georgia that night, and he came out like a professional wrestler. Is what I like. Frank likes wrestling, from what I've been told. I mean, if basketball doesn't ever work out, Frank could be in that business because he stands straight up with the mic. Oh, I want to tell you this right now. And he's like, let's take these dogs our house, not this time, never. And then that was one of the best ones. But my point is, it used to be that, and then Sandstorm. Now it's this big, they play video, like cinematic videos at halftime and the beginning of the third quarter. And the scoreboard now, instead of just somebody randomly pop it up and going, Gabe, they'll sit there and count it down. 3, 2, 1, and the whole stadium's rocking. It's so much like it's taken all the traditions South Carolina has and molded it together into this coherent thing, like a lot of others, like most SEC schools do. And I can't say enough about it. And I'm always kind of looking for themes, but the theme that they've built on, I haven't talked to Justin. I don't know if that's intentional, but the personification of Williams-Brice itself, and making it into kind of this organic, living, breathing type of thing, just like the video said, that it shows that. I mean, I was floored by the day to night thing. I was like, I looked at my wife was too. We can't even find a video of it. It's like, I guess it's kind of, I was like, holy, so did that just happen? Did the stadium just literally say, all right, time to switch over tonight? And there were, like I said, there were no words even spoken. It was just this music and the stadium kind of, I don't know, man. I was just, I was blown away. So I understand now a lot of opposing fans the last 2 years have gotten on X and really talked it up. And I lived it. I was there. I stayed I got there early and stayed till the end. And it was, I'm just so proud and happy and thankful as someone's been going to games there my whole life that somebody like Mike alluded to, they've taken the bull by the horns. Ray Tanner, everybody deserves a lot of credit for facilitating all of this. And it's unmatched. It's unmatched. So I hats off, beanies off to everybody. And we have another day to night thing this coming weekend. So maybe somebody can video the daggum night switch over for me because I can't get it out of my mind. I was like, holy crap. And that was like, it seemed to me like it was like daytime. And then all of a sudden the stadium did something and now it's nighttime. And I was like, yeah, that's really creepy in a lot of ways because it feels like the stadium's alive. But, you know, as someone that when I was a kid and even as an adult enjoyed Disney rides and things like that, I mean, that's high level that because you feel it and it invokes and you feel like it's just living, breathing Gamecock apparatus. And I don't know, man, I just can't say enough.
You guys probably know this, the name of the video guy that produces all those kind of hype videos.
Just for Carolina, Justin King. Yeah, he's
King.
He's an assistant athletic director. Yeah, he for that he has a team that works for him.
Right,
but they got him involved with game day a few years back, and it's worked out well.
Well, Well, I remember this is a conversation I had with Ray years ago, and we were talking about other stuff. He said, "By the way, we just got Justin King," and I was like, "Who the heck is that?" He's one of the best video guys out there, and we got him. He said, it wasn't cheap, but I think it's important. We gotta improve our presentation. That's getting it. That's understanding it. That's realizing that all the little things add up into big things, blurry things that you can easily ignore, because it's not going to get a whole lot of hype like hiring and firing coaches. But that's where I think Carolina was lacking severely, again, a couple decades ago. It's come a long, long way since then. And game day presentation has never been more important because, again, people sometimes just find an excuse to not go to games. Not because they're not fans, but because it's just a lot easier to hang back at home, watch with your family and friends, as opposed to going through all the logistics that it takes to have a game day. Not everybody's as passionate as Jamie Bradford, who's there each and every home game, regardless of the weather, regardless of the cost, regardless of family obligations, nothing.
No.
I guess what I'm saying is the fan of the year is Jamie
It's
Bradford.
not me.
James Bradford.
It is not me. I know who it is, but it's not me.
It's not you. While we're talking about great people, and I wanted to throw those numbers real quick from Marler on Carolina. I'll do that in just a second. Now, hang with me. This is going to take a lot of skill and dexterity, but we're just a tad behind on taking care of our fine sponsors, including Lurie Life and Health, presented by Joe Lurie. Great team of over 100 years of experience helping clients and agents with Medicare, health insurance, life insurance needs. The service is free, 803-256-2067, 803-256-2067. Also want to mention D's Wings. It is 75-cent wing Monday, so make sure you check them out if you're in the Midlands and you're thinking about what to do for a late lunch or for a dinner at any time. The choice always of D's is a terrific one. Don't forget Taco Tuesday tomorrow. And if you're in the market for some new home, life, and auto insurance, GaryPatterson.net, serving the Midlands, Lugoff, Columbia, Lexington, Camden, Blythewood. Been doing it for a long time. When he's not officiating college football games, he's taking care of you. One call, one switch. That's easy at 803-438-5000. No charges involved in that. This is from Chris Marler. Just some naughty numbers, and he goes around the whole SEC, but a lot of them are focused on Carolina, which I thought was interesting. The number 4, Carolina scored a touchdown with 39 seconds left in the first half against Missouri. That's the 4th time in the last 5 games that they've successfully ran a 2-minute drill, resulting in points before halftime, with 3 of the 4 scores being touchdowns. That's a good naughty number. 209, South Carolina threw for 209 yards in the first half against Mizzou. That's more than they had in 5 of their first 7 entire games of the season. South Carolina is 23-6 under Shane Beamer when winning or finishing even in the turnover battle. They are 3-15 when they lose it. 23-6 versus 3-15. 353. Missouri allowed 353 yards passing to the Gamecocks. That's the second most they've allowed in the game in the last 5 years. And finally, 7. Since 2012, South Carolina has 7 wins when trailing in the final minute of a game. 3 of the 7 have been against Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's 2013, 2018, and that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
2013 was an epic comeback. And then 18 was, Mike, you and I watched the 18 game. You remember we were in Atlanta.
I do remember.
And that was that rain game, and they won on Skarnecchia. And
yes.
And that one.
Was that the old dive bar?
We were at the dive bar, dude. All day it seemed, because there was like an hour rain delay, and then a monsoon second half, and Skarnecchia was starting. That was a wild one.
That was a great set. For those that don't know, there is a huge Gamecock fan that owned a bar, and it literally is a dive bar. No food, just you walk in there, just there's a bar and there's people, and he would play like Gamecock music during the commercial breaks. He'd mute the TVs and blast up the volume, and it was where a lot of the Gamecock fans in Atlanta, and there are several, I mean, probably in the thousands that live here in Atlanta Metro, that would show up there. And JC knew the owner, so it was a great It's a great setup, but unfortunately, I think he sold it. Right? He doesn't own it anymore.
Yeah, he's not. It's not there anymore. I mean, see, he's not. I think it's the bar is still there, but my man, I hadn't talked to him in a while. I need to hit him up. I hadn't.
Tell him to open another one up here.
Let's see what's going on. But yeah, so great, great stuff there, Mike. It was a heck of a. Anybody? We're going to talk about what happened in Madison, Wisconsin this weekend.
Phil Longo, whack.
We have one more break, by the way, guys.
Okay. I'm talking about the Oregon. The Dan Lanning, everybody's great, best football coach ever. And Oregon, did we not? Nobody watched that one. I mean, they just acted like everything I They won 16-13, and were lucky to win, even though they held Wisconsin like 200 yards. Longo should have gotten. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that Wisconsin team's average. I mean, look. Anyway, let's take a break.
Yeah. Well.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up a screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer, turns the corner, touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey, folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right. You know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that, too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service, second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured, your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell them Mike sent you.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170. Resto Pros of the Midlands. RestoProsMidlandsSC.com.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
The Gamecocks, the show. It is a beautiful Monday. Welcome back. Carolina, of course, victorious over Missouri this weekend. Where does that leave them? The projections right now, Brett McMurphy's got them in Tampa against Iowa in the former Outback Bowl, which is the ReliaQuest Bowl. The Athletic and Steve Lasan have them in Tampa as well. And that projection, he's got them in there against Iowa. Jerry Palm with CBS has them against Louisville in the Gator Bowl, and ESPN's Mark Schlabach and Kyle Bonagura have them down in Tampa in addition to the others. And Schlabach's got them playing Illinois. Bonagura's got them playing Iowa. So with the 8th win this weekend over Wofford, things are getting clearer for South Carolina if they don't miraculously end up somewhere in a playoff. You win 9, you're probably looking heavily at Orlando, but right now that's where the projections are.
Yeah,
nice.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think if A&M does not make the playoff, or Texas, obviously, because Capital One Bowl now is our Citrus Bowl, I guess, Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's the best you can do. There's no more New Year's 6 bowl games, which is unfortunate because that never worked out for Carolina. Good riddance to that era of college football. Good riddance to the major bowl era. It's gone. It's dead. Because you're either playoff and playing into one of those games or it doesn't exist. So the Capital One, the Orlando Bowl, the Citrus is as good as you can do. But as Mike was talking about later, these bowls want to make money. The league office has a lot to do with it. Texas or Texas A&M does not make the playoffs, and it's Carolina. That's tough. That gets tough when you're competing against them. I think Tennessee went last year. So LSU has been there a lot. I think LSU kind of falling off helps. Doesn't help the Gamecocks with the playoff because they lost to LSU, but it would help. And, some of these other you just got a lot of programs with big fan bases that are going to be bundled in there together, so you just don't know which way it's going to go. But, like I said before, with bowl games, the athletic director can only do so much, unlike how it used to be, where you cut deals. Mike McGee cutting deals,
I want the Outback.
But yeah, James says if Tennessee gets left out of the playoff, they'll get the Citrus. Well, they went last year though. They played.
Yeah, they were there
Iowa last year, and that was Nico's game.
And to the point we were all making earlier, I don't care who the hell is left out of the playoff. If South Carolina is riding a 6-game winning streak and 4 of them are against ranked opponents, and that includes going to the Upstate, beating Clemson, all the bowls are going to want the Gamecocks. Every friggin' one of them, because they'll be hot and they know that the fans will show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, numbers wise though, Jamie, even if half of Texas's fan base is disappointed and doesn't want to come, there's so many of those people. It's like kicking over an anthill, man. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're not wrong. I don't disagree with that. But I mean, like, if you're talking about best case scenario without the playoff here, if Carolina finishes 9-3 and the Aggies finish 9-3, I don't care how big their fan base is. Columbia, South Carolina, and Orlando aren't that far apart. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't choose A&M or somebody like that. I'm just saying they will want Carolina.
You're looking at merit, Jamie.
Right.
Which is certainly important. But let's face it, if I were to make a wild and crazy prediction, remember, in my opinion, this is what's going to happen. 4 teams for the Big Ten, Notre Dame, Big 12 champ, ACC champ, Group 5 champ. That leaves 4 teams left. Those other 4 are all going to be SEC teams. My guess would be Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, Texas. Those would be the 4. And then, so who would be left out? A&M, Tennessee, and Carolina. None of those teams struggle for fan. All 3 of those fan bases will gobble up tickets to whatever bowl game it is. So, there's
Tennessee did go last year, so that kind of puts them in behind.
And Carolina beat A&M,
and Carolina beat A. So Carolina beat. So yeah, it could be. Yeah, that's that under that scenario, Mike.
If we're going on merit, Carolina blew out A&M. I think Carolina's a better team than Tennessee right now. Carolina should have beat Alabama, but they didn't.
Do you know under the current where we are right now in the tiebreakers, Alabama today is in the SEC championship game against Texas.
Yeah. Well, and they also have the most quality wins of anybody in the country. So I'm not going to shortchange Alabama. That's why that win would have been so, as much as LSU stings, the one against Alabama would have been historic.
And now that the Badgers played the number 1 team in America off their feet this weekend, that win looks better than the Michigan win to me. The win in Madison that Alabama had up there. So I don't know.
And I still think nobody's playing any better than Ole Miss. You mentioned about the quarterback who's playing. I mean, nobody's playing better than Jackson Dart, if we're being completely objective. Like, he will probably be first team All SEC. He's by far and away the number 1 rated passer.
They better be careful, man. The
swamp.
football gods are watching this game against the Gators because you have all right. So it's everybody knows they wanted Lane Kiffin. Everybody. I mean, everybody. People were talking
They
about
still
it openly,
do.
and they probably
LSU
still do.
win and change that. They still would rather
and
dump Billy Napier right now.
Florida's got a little momentum, and Ole Miss sometimes on the road. They're kind of okay.
Yeah, no, you're.
I mean,
right.
Lagway could just have the game. That freshman running back they got, the defense.
Lagway's legit. Like
Florida's defense is playing well. I mean,
if I'm Florida, I want Eli Drinkwitz, not Kiffin. That's me.
Well,
I don't care much for the guy, but he can coach.
They got Billy Napier, dude. Hey, the only problem I have with Eli is the situation with the Gamecocks. Other than that, I love the guy. I think we need more people like him in college football. I mean,
he's kind of like the anti-coach because he's the nerdy guy who didn't play.
Yeah, and he wears a visor and talks crap and can coach offense. Yeah. So everybody loves a guy like that. I mean, when he went out to midfield last year after whipping Tennessee, after they'd scored 130 on him the last 2 years, and just look, and he's short. Josh Heupel's towering over him. And he just looks up at Josh, shakes hands, goes, "We stand on business, Josh." And he just walks away. Dude, that was classic because Heupel's kind of a guy that you talk to people around, and he doesn't seem like a bad guy, but there's a lot of people that don't like
a bad guy at all.
A lot of people don't like him though. They think I think it's because they think he runs up the score. I don't buy that, but but there's a lot of coaches that are like Josh Heupel, blah blah blah.
He's got a lot of big Spurrier energy.
Yeah, we stand on business, Josh. I mean, so if it weren't for the Gamecock thing, and I'd probably Phil and I were talking about this weekend about Eli. Why people maybe around here don't like it. But.
You hate him a lot less when you beat him, though, don't you?
Well, I like him a lot better today than I did on Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Me too.
If Carolina rattles off 5 in a row against Missouri, which I don't think is completely out of the question, if you've beaten some better programs 5 in a row than Mizzou, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, isn't he cute? That's he's.
Yeah, Jamie brought up a great point though about that, because it could, Lane's the shiny new object, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Napier's coming back. I mean,
no, you're right. It doesn't matter.
And so it's poetic justice for Florida to take them lightly. I mean, for Ole Miss to take them lightly, and Billy Napier knocks Lane Kiffin out of the playoff.
Well, it would be so like Lane that win over Georgia. You cannot undersell it. It was a huge monkey off the back of Lane, and for that program. But you're right. If they follow it up with a loss against a rather mid Florida team, then all that gets brought back up.
The football gods are watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're also watching the kill zone.
They're always watching the kill zone. I mean, the football gods are clearly on Jerry Kill's side.
They're not on LSU's side. They've lost 3 straight. Folks want him out of there, and it's going to cost you $61 million to do it.
Million, I know.
So,
it's going to get so nasty there.
How bad do you hate it?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a hot seat, but again, you had to know when you took that job, you followed up 3 coaches. What other program could say this in the history of mankind? Their previous 3 coaches all won a national title. 2 of them, most people think, have the IQ of a house cat. So
listen, Ed.
You're Brian Kelly, man. You didn't get off to a great start culturally when you throw a fake Southern accent at everybody, and you're dancing with recruits, and now you're just not winning the games that LSU fans have come to expect to win. Not because it's their birthright, but because other coaches have done it very recently. That's going to get very contentious. That hasn't already.
We stand on business, Brian.
We stand on business.
Well, our business today is done. Thanks to John Whittle and Pat DiMarco and Mike Morgan, the Golden Tones, and the Golden Child, Mad Dog. And the golden boy, JC. I'm just JB. We'll be back tomorrow at 11, I promise. Right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barn Co. and brought to you by Resto Pros.